Durham, so space on the end, you know what you're going to say there. It's not going to be that many people there.
always been good at designing niche products for consumers. So our thinking was if we can use the same design skills on products which have got more volume, we'll be more successful. The big issue was the plan to do it. We set a figure of a capacity to make 250,000 pieces a year. That's an ambitious target, that's our figure. So we then worked with the machinery designers to make the washing machines. Number one in this product, it's got to be reliable. A washing machine has a lot of hard work to do. It's a very important part of most households. So reliability was the issue. I think any new product, we've got to learn about it. And that's important. We've got to learn about it so we understand it inside out. And that's taken longer than we expected. We've taken our time to make sure that it's right. There's a big appetite for brand British products, and rightly so. But we can't rely on that. We've got to make a product that competes with all the inputs. And of course, remember, we've got our core business here of making domestic dehumidifiers and bottled water coolers, industrial dehumidifiers. So that takes our time. We don't want to get this wrong. We've done 120,000 hours of testing washing machines here to make sure that it's absolutely reliable and does the job.
At Worcester was on.
Good morning and welcome to Chesley Street for day one of Durham against Glamorgan. 5 games in and Durham are still looking for their first win of the season. While they broke records for fun at Worcester last week, 4 centuries in the game, the fastest 100 for the club and the second fastest, the most runs by a batsman in a morning session, and a record 17 sixes in an innings by one player. The fact remains, that was a good batting track, but yet again, Durham were unable to bowl their opponents out twice, although restricting Worcestershire to 85 for 2 at the close of day 3. The next wicket didn't actually fall for another 59 overs, and by that time, the game was very much over and heading towards a draw. It turned out to be the only wicket to fall on the final day as well, with the sides shaking hands on a draw at 5:20. Now, with the dry weather we've had basically all through the spring, the use of the heavy roller twice by each team, tracks have generally been placid and rather batsman friendly, and we've seen not just with Durham but across the country lots of high scoring games, double hundreds, centuries in each innings. That happened twice last week in 2 matches, the Durham game and Aston for Essex, and it basically produced a lot of high scoring draws. There's also a suggestion from some bowlers the seams on some of the balls are smaller this year, or the seams on the balls are smaller this year, and taking wickets has been hard to do as a result of that. Well, Coach James Franklin says they're going to have to work out new ways of bowling teams out. Keep Ned Eckersley says it's good to see batsmen scoring so many runs, but he also thinks it could take some time for sides to figure out a way around this in the coming months and indeed the coming years, and it comes trying to take wickets. But the coach believes also there were plenty of positives to take from the game last week at New Road against Worcestershire.
The performance was there. It was obviously just that final day where we couldn't really get any progression into that Worcester lineup, and fair play to Haynes and to Azhar Ali. They played beautifully. They really took the sting out of any potential threat to them with us winning the game. And in some ways, I was actually a little bit surprised that they didn't even have a bit of a dip at the total. The wicket was playing so well. But the thoughts from us are, first and foremost, the performance was good. We start again, obviously, tomorrow with Morgan, and it's about that day one, trying to gain ascendancy on day one to ultimately drive the game, and that's what we did well against Worcester, and what we hadn't done well in the previous 2 games against Sussex and Nottinghamshire. So that's a big lesson for us to learn in the last match against Worcester, and one that we want to take forward again starting tomorrow against Glamorgan.
We were talking the other day about why there are so many high-scoring draws. The pitches feel particularly placid this season, and I think one of your thoughts was it's been a dry spring. Mm-hmm. There's also the suggestions, of course, with the weather being so good as well, that the heavy roller has more of an impact, and the sides can use that now twice. I was reading something the other day. Some bowlers say the seam on the ball is smaller this year, and it's harder to take because the ball's changed. Is there any truth in that at all?
Yeah, I think for some teams it's probably a combination of all those elements that you're alluding to, but we're also seeing other teams win games of cricket and having the potency to take wickets in a number of different ways. And for us, we're still just working a little bit about how we do that, and what the right combination for us to do that is. I love the wickets that we're playing on at the moment. I think they're very good cricket wickets. I think they're challenging wickets at times for the bowlers, but I think that can only be a good thing if you look at the top of the pyramid and the England team in terms of producing, international cricketers. I think these pitches are more of a reflection of what you will get at international level. We're seeing batters bat long periods of time, scoring big hundreds. And I think, probably guys, particularly the pace bowlers that are at the top of the wicket-taking charts at the moment, are probably those pace bowlers that are playing international cricket, or they could well play international cricket in years to come. So we're still, as I said, we're working out how to take 20 wickets, which just with a slight change in conditions, we're just having to just work that one out.
Yeah. You mentioned international bowlers. Matty Potts is on the England radar, isn't he? And he is the joint leading wicket taker in the country at the moment with Hassan Ali from Lancashire. And he does look a bit different, doesn't he, when you see how he's bombing in, the speed's getting up compared to, say, some of the other lads in the team at the moment. Yeah,
look, Potty, he's been brilliant all through these 5 games. He got his maiden 6-wicket or 5-wicket bag against Leicester, and he's just kicked on in the last few games since then. So his challenge is obviously to maintain that standard. It's challenging physically for him and for our bowlers at the moment, because we've had no week off, we've got no respite. We have 7 first-class games in a row. luckily he's one of the fittest, he's one of the strongest in our squad, and obviously he's in good form, so he wants to keep going. And look, if he keeps progressing the way he has started this season, then that potential of being an international cricketer is hopefully going to come to fruition of actually being an international cricketer. Can't hurry it. He's got to keep stacking up performances with Durham and ultimately trying to put Durham in winning positions to have positive results.
Now, Sean Dixon is leading batsman in the country. He's way ahead of anybody else, and he's having an absolutely fantastic season, isn't he?
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely, really, really, really happy for Sean. I think red ball cricket form for him in the last couple of years has been a little bit of a challenge. Last year, he was exceptional for us in white ball cricket. But to really see him start beautifully this season with amazing form, his winter preparation was outstanding. And he's really come this season beautifully. 400s, as you say, 3 in a row. Again, it's a little bit similar to Poppy. The challenge for him now is to somehow maintain that form. It'll be very difficult. And I think we've also got to be realistic that at some days there is going to be a slight drop off. But he's got a great foundation for the rest of the summer to really make a monster one.
What's the situation with Bryden Cars?
Bryden's involved in our squad, the first team squad for this game against Glamorgan. The last couple of weeks, he's played second team cricket and come through it really well. He's just had a really long rehab from an injury that was sustained out in Australia in November. It was always going to be sort of a 6 or 7 month rehab. He's been brilliant. The last 2 months, he's really come on leaps and bounds. So he's in the squad for this game, and we'll make a decision on him tomorrow morning whether or not he's actually going to play.
Now, you've already played Glamorgan once this season. The weather affected that one, but there wasn't Marnus Labuschagne or Michael Nisa for Glamorgan then, and equally there was no Ben Stokes for Durham either. So slightly different sides this time around. Yeah,
it is. And we had a good performance down there at Cardiff. All up there's probably a day lost to rain, and I think if we had that extra day, we would have really forced Glamorgan in terms of us probably winning that game, but not to be. That's the way it is with cricket. So we expect a really tough challenge from them. They've won a couple of games. They won last week. With those 2 individuals you allude to, it obviously strengthens their play 11. They've also got Sam Northeast into their squad this year. And I think anyone that follows county cricket will know that it's been prolific over the last decade. So we're expecting a really tough game. But if we start well and we can drive the game after day 1, we feel that as we work through the game, as I've said to you time and time again, come day 4, hopefully we're the only ones out of the 2 teams that can drive a positive.
The Durham coach, James Franklin there. The umpires have just rung the bell and tell you that Glamorgan have won the toss and they've decided they will have all. Be interesting to see how this wicket fares given the last 2 wickets here, because against Leicestershire it was an absolute batsman's paradise. That was right at the top end of the square. The next game a week later against Nottinghamshire made it look like a batsman's paradise before Durham then crumbled. They've now made their way down the square, not quite in the middle but not far off actually, and Nick Webb, who's alongside me, Martin Emerson, has been out for the toss, and we'll give you the team news briefly, but that doesn't half look like green top, Nick, doesn't it?
It looks like from green top from here, it looks like a green top from kilometres away, yep. And with that greenness and possibly the most cloud today out the 4, then not at all surprised that David Lloyd decided to bowl first.
I'll give you the team news because, importantly, Bryden Cars is back for Durham. They've recalled Ben Rain as well. Rain sat out last week's game when Ben Stokes came back into the side. So Durham look like this. It's Alex Lees, Sean Dixon, who's the leading maker in the country, Keegan Peterson, Scott Borthwaite, David Beddingham, Ben Stokes, Ned Eckersley, Bryden Cars, Matty Potts, the leading wicket taker in the country, along with Hassan Ali of Lancashire, Chris Rushworth and Ben Rain. And Glamorgan look like Nick.
Yeah, Glamorgan, a couple of changes as well. In come Billy Root and Tim van der Hoogten. Van der Hoogten is fit again after a minor hamstring niggle that kept him last week. And Billy Root scored 175 for the seconds a couple of days ago. He'll be playing at 7, we think. Glamorgan lineup: David Lloyd, Andrew Salter, Marnus Labuschagne, Sam Northeast, Kieran Carlson, Chris Cook, Billy Root, Andrew Gorvin, Michael Nisa, Tim van der Hoogten and Michael Hogan. So James Harris dropped out. He's looked a little bit off form the last couple of games, and James Wheel, formerly of these parts, drops out as well. I suspect he might have been played, but the scientific word from the Glamorgan camp is that he's feeling rough.
Oh, right.
Not COVID, rough.
No. So the sun is trying to poke through here, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of a a toss this is to win on this green looking track. It might be green, doesn't necessarily mean it will nibble around, but the other tracks they've played on here were quite straw looking earlier in the season. There's virtually been no rain. I haven't had any rain really for weeks. A little bit yesterday afternoon, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays. And the ground staff, particularly Victor Main, the head groundsman here, always says even though he prepares the wickets, he can never tell you how a wicket's going to play, even though he spent days and weeks working on it. So Michael Neese is going to open the bowling. He didn't play against Durham in the opening game, which ended in a draw in Glamorgan. First week of the season, it was bitterly cold and windy. On day one, hailstorms interrupted most of the afternoon. Day two, hailstorms wiped out the afternoon, and as a result, the sides lost 108 overs in that game, and it petered out into a draw. So Nisa didn't play in that one, and neither did Marnish Labuschagne, neither did Ben Stokes. So it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out. Here is Nisa then into bowl to Lees on the leg stump. It's played away by Lees out through mid wicket. He got 182 in that match down at Glamorgan. Alex Lees carried his bat for the second time in 3 years, and got a century a couple of weeks ago in his opening standard Sussex second innings of 313, one short of Durham's opening record in a county championship stand. Sean Dixon at the other end went on to make 186 at Sussex. Then he got 104 in the first innings at Worcester last week and 105 in the second, the first Durham player to score centuries in 3 consecutive innings. As Nisa comes in again, and that's off shoulder of the bat down towards third man 4-1, and Lees is off the mark.
Yeah, Glamorgan patching up their leading fast bowlers, Michael Nisa and Michael Hogan. Hogan will have played 6 in the bounce. Well, this is his 6th. Nisa's 5th. He looked as though he had 1 or 2 niggles against last time out, with holding his side on a couple of occasions, and also had a toe problem the week before, but I guess he can put his feet up for a few days after this.
Comes in from the Lumley end. Oh, big appeal for LBW. Sean Dixon forward to that one. It looked to me like it was worth a shout. Might be a bit of inside edge maybe, but certainly looked worth it.
Yeah, Glamorgan will be really keen to get early breakthroughs, because they're essentially a seamer down on last week, with Billy Root coming in as a specialist batter. Willen Harris dropping out. Van Docton's in decent nick, as are Nisa and Hogan. Govin playing only his second match in first class cricket.
Oh, there's the news in my ears as that's played to backward point by Dixon. No run there. I do like the shade of red they have on the Glamorgan strip for the numbers.
Yeah, it's pretty prominent, isn't it, thankfully?
It's like a fire chief's red, isn't it? The sort of red you'd expect to see a fire chief's car.
Fireman Sam would be proud. Lloyd is at first slip, Northeast at second, and Labuschagne at third, the usual line-up there.
Bowler comes in again, Dixon defends, played back to Nisa.
Fairly conventional field for Morgan at the moment. 3 slips, fine leg, third man, both on a 45-degree angle in front of us.
Well, Durham start this round of matches 5th, 5 matches, 1 defeat, 4 draws, driven by Dixon, thick outside edge down towards third man. Glamorgan is second, 5 games, 2 wins, and a defeat and 2 draws, so they won last week against Leicestershire. Who was the other victory again?
Nottinghamshire away.
That was the week after they played Durham, wasn't it?
Looked on paper the most difficult game of the season. They played very well in that game, and quite poorly the week after at home to Middlesex.
Yeah, that was Shahid Afridi, wasn't it?
That was the boy.
Yeah. He's having a rest this week, apparently.
All right.
One of the Durham scoring team was telling me, read last night, that Pakistan had withdrawn their players from this week's rounds of championship matches. I'm not really sure why. But
Michael Hogan will be running away from us at this commentary box end. Durham 2 without loss, and he'll be bowling the first ball to the in-form Sean Dixon as Hogan is in, bowls outside off stump and allowed to go through, no shot played. Bit of blue sky overhead, fair bit of cloud around, and this is forecast to be the coolest of the 4 days. Temperatures around 14 degrees according to the BBC.
Well, when I arrived here this morning, it was sunny, but there was a really stiff breeze coming from the west, and you could tell it was bringing the temperature down a few degrees. So it's a cold day.
Hogan, though, is in his usual short-sleeved shirt as he runs away from us and bowls, and that's played off the back foot by Dixon, but straight to point, and there is no run.
Oh, just as we're talking about Shaheen Afridi, Kevin Hand, the Middlesex commentator, has just tweeted, "It's a shame he won't be in the Durham game next week. Look forward to him returning for the Blast." And Middlesex have just announced Shaheen Afridi is returning home ahead of international duty.
All right.
That's a bonus from a Durham point of view.
In comes Hogan, loping in past umpire Middlebrook, bowls, and on the back foot, played by Dixon again to point. No run. Yes, he's a bit nippy, is Shaheen Afridi.
Well, was it Bass who did Durham a few years ago at Leicestershire, bowled them out for 61 and 66 in the same afternoon.
Ouch.
Alright, update here. Well, Glamorgan have won the toss and they've put Durham in here. Bryden Carse making a return for the home team, having recovered from a knee operation which he had in the winter after tearing his knee while playing for England Lions. So it's his first county championship appearance for Durham since the 5th of July last year. Ben Rain's been recalled as well after sitting out the draw at Worcester last week. Durham are 2 without loss, and in this game we've got the hero of Australian cricket, Michael Labuschagne, up against the hero of English cricket, Ben Stokes. So it should be a juicy one, this one. Commentary on the BBC Cricket website and the BBC website.
As Dixon takes a single down to wide third man. Yeah, Marnus Labuschagne missing out last week against Leicester, but certainly in the runs against Derby the week before.
I just said the BBC website twice there. I meant to say the app. So the BBC Cricket website and the app, and I said the BBC Cricket website and the BBC website.
Oh, it's really good, the BBC website.
It's worth looking at twice.
Absolutely.
It's a bit like New York, is it? They've named it twice.
And Newport.
And Newport.
Newport.
Yeah.
As Hogan is in to bowl to Lees, that's outside off stump and allowed to go through to the keeper. And at the end of 2 reasonably uneventful overs, there's been a speculative LBW appeal and 3 singles, 3 without loss here on BBC Sport Online and on the app.
When I got the train to Cardiff for the opening game of the season, that bit where you come down and you follow the river valley and down the Severn, that's beautiful, that section, and then you cross over the River Usk at Newport, and there's quite a lot going on in Newport, isn't it? Looks like there's been quite a bit of development there on the riverfront. They've got the velodrome as well. And
they keep changing things around on the riverfront.
And you've got the bridge, the same as the bridge over the River Tees. The
Transporter Bridge, yeah. One of the things Newport's famous for. It's on the football club badge.
Yeah. And that's over the Usk as well.
It is, yeah.
Here's Nisa from the Lumley end bowling to Dixon. It's over pitched and he drives it back past the bowler up to mid-on. Well, a week later, just by sheer chance, I was on the GCN website, which is a cycling channel, and found a series called Slow Rides, and a guy does these rides along these old drovers routes across Britain, and one of them was they followed the Usk for 2 or 3 days, and the weather was appalling. It must have been October, November last year when the rain came. Nisa in again, balls, playing a miss from Dixon wide of the off stump, and they finished their journey. It was beautiful the way they filmed it, and they were camping out in the hills and whatnot, and then the final day they finished in Newport, and they got the bridge across the river. And I think they said the shipyard used to be on an island or something. Was that right? Or on the other side of the estuary? So the transporter bridge was built to ferry the thousands of people from the docks back across the river.
Some sort of industrial purpose. A little bit before my time.
Yeah. Nisa in, right arm over, defended by Dixon. And Durham 3 without loss here on BBC Radio Newcastle, BBC Radio Wales. Michael Nisa didn't play in the opening game because he had a side strain and he was just recovering from it. He's 32 years old and one of a number of people who were born in South Africa who then moved to Australia.
Like Labuschagne?
Yes. He was going to be my example.
Sorry.
So it's fine. So he was born in Pretoria He moved to Australia when he was 10, like Labuschagne, as he comes in and bowls, defending on a length. So he's played the one test match, that was against England in 2021. He's played 2 ODIs. Now the last of those was actually here for Australia against England in 2018. And this is now his 77th first-class match. In the previous 76, taking 258 wickets, with his best figures 6 for 57, Queensland against Tasmania in 2017, and he boasts 7 fifers. And this year's best bowling, 4 for 63 against Derbyshire. He bowls again to Dixon. It pops up off the inside edge of the bat onto the front thigh pad. And so far he's taken 14 wickets this year. Now Dixon is on fire. He's runs for fun, and he looks like a new man. He's the leading run maker in the country by some distance. He's had 3 consecutive centuries, as I mentioned. First Durham player to do that. His highest score is 191 against Leicestershire here in a draw. That was the second week of the season as Nisa bowls. Dixon plays the point. So that was Bellingham. He got 186 against Sussex at Hove. Dixon also got runs in the Leicestershire game. He got 120 in that one. And he has had 105 and 104 at Worcester last week. He's had an 84 against Leicestershire and a 54 against Notts. But it was Lees who got 182 not out at Glamorgan in Durham's first innings. Carried his bat for the second time in 3 years. I think the 10th or 11th Durham batsman to do that.
Very impressive he was. Michael Hogan will try to remove him here as he runs in and bowls, and Lees chops it down to third man and will take a single. 4 without loss, Durham.
He's not happy with his bat there, isn't he? He's looking at the toe of the bat to see if he's broken it. Last week in that absolutely unbelievable innings from Ben Stokes, 161 runs, 17 sixes, a new English record. He used 4 different bats. And I said to him, why did you use so many bats? Did you keep breaking them? He said, oh no, they were all new from manufacturer. He said, I just decided to test each one out to see how good they were.
That's one way to knock him in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hogan into ball to Dixon, who plays that one through the covers. There'll be runs here, at least a couple. It'll be picked up just inside the boundary. They'll turn and have a look at a third and then decide that it's 12 minutes into a 4-day game. There's no need to risk third runs. 6 without loss. Nicely timed from Dixon.
That boundary to the pavilion must be nearly, I would say definitely 90 metres, must be nearly 100. I'm adding up all the different shades, and then they're 12 metres wide.
Alright.
Yeah.
Hogan in and bowls, and that's driven straight back to him by Dixon, and there's no run. Yes, it's just to the left of our commentary point, and as we've been saying, towards the middle of the square. Very honoured to get on the middle of the square at this time of year. Usually it's approaching from the sides. Oh, it is in Cardiff anyway. Don't get near the middle for another month or 2. Here's Hogan to Dixon, and he leaves that one go outside off stump. Through it goes to Chris Cook.
I know the ground staff normally have a plan for which wickets will be used across the season. They have a big grid in their office, but I'm just wondering if the coaches have had a chat this week and said, can we move more into the middle, please? And try and get a result wicket.
Here goes Hogan then. Played all Glamorgan's games so far. As he bowls, and that's run down off angled bat by Dixon to third man for a single. 7 without loss. A few early Twitter comments and Glammy podcast from Rod Young and Jordan Lloyd expressing some surprise at Glamorgan's changes, though Jordan Lloyd says Root hit a lovely knock for the seconds, so it's nice to see form being rewarded, and Gorvin's economy was excellent against Leicestershire. In terms of the other selections, I think Harris has not looked at his best in the last couple of games, and Wheel is feeling a bit rough, so was left out on health grounds as Hogan bowls, and Lee shoulders arms through to Chris Cook. No run, 7 without loss, so I suspect Wheel would probably have played had he been feeling 100%, but he wasn't.
Yeah, against his former club.
Yeah.
Played in the cup last year, didn't he?
Yep. Part of the
this year when Glamorgan came here at the end, towards the back in the last season.
Yep.
Stokesley's James Wheel. Do you know which famous food company is based in Stokesley?
I'm afraid not.
If you were vegetarian, you'd probably know.
What, Linda McCartney's lot?
No. They also share...
Corn?
Yeah, they also share their name with a part of Leicestershire.
There we are.
Nisa coming in to bowl to Dixon. Dixon forward to that one, plays it back to Nisa. Got 3 in the slip cordon at the moment, so just to the right of Chris Cook is David Lloyd. Then we've got Sam Northeast, who joined from Hampshire this year, and Marnus Lavershan. Had a chat with Sam in the pub down at Glamorgan a few weeks ago, following his move. Made his debut against Durham way back when, in 2007 I think it was, at Canterbury. Long time ago. Nisa in and balls. Ooh, defended inside edge onto the front pad. I remember his debut because the name Northeast stood out a mile.
Yeah.
Playing against the Northeast team, obviously. And I was down there. It was the last match of the season. Durham had an outside chance of winning the county championship. They were slightly behind Sussex, so they had to get maximum points and hope Sussex tripped up somewhere along the line. As it was, Durham did their bit, but Sussex also got across the line and won the title by 4.5 points. These are balls. That's defended. In fact, it's not, it's left. It's gone through to the keeper. What am I talking about? And the day I drove down there, we'd been for a scan, and our oldest daughter, it was one of these new 4D scanners, so I almost had an idea of what she was going to look like because the scanner was that clever. I remember arriving the first night in Canterbury and watching this DVD on my laptop, just astounded by the technology. And the following year, final game of the season, 2008, Durham back at Canterbury with a chance to win the county championship. There's Nisa bowls. This is defended. And they had to get maximum points and hope Notts tripped up against Hampshire, which Notts did, and Durham got their bit, so Durham won the title. And sitting on my knee that afternoon in the press box was my 9-month-old daughter by then.
Oh.
And now she comes to the odd game and does a bit of scoring, so there you go. So Sam Northeast doesn't know the part he's played there.
Yes. Don't think I'd let either of my daughters near a cricket scorebook.
Well, Nisa in, Dixon forward, and the ball played out towards the offside, no run. Well, it's all done on tablets and stuff now. I went with the girls last night, they were playing a match at Seaham Harbour, and scoring was all done on a tablet.
Well, the standard of some of the scorebooks and the matches I played, you're lucky to get any facts at all written on paper. If it was entrusted to a tablet, it would be a right shambles, I suspect. Need people who know what you're doing for the tablets.
And he said to Dixon again defends, the ball goes to point and over. Well, one of the things they did in the North East Premier League was they went all electronic a few years ago, so all the teams had to have electronic scoreboards and basically Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff. So even for the kids' games, they can score at the side of the pitch and use the scoreboards, and they can connect them to the tablets or whatever other laptops they use. And some of the club, I think Benwell Hill in the North East Premier League, they've now started using CCTV cameras, a bit like what you see inside the county grounds, so you can watch. They're streaming their games.
Here comes Hogan and bowls, and that's played out on the onside by Lees. No run.
Doug Rain has emailed, "Good morning, Marty," he says. He's emailed wearecricket@yahoo.co.uk. He said, "Let's hope this wicket is more sporting than some of the roads that we have recently played on." And he said, "Leaving Travaskis out is really harsh unless he's injured, but it is great to have Carse back and a much needed pace option."
As Hogan is in to bowl to Lees, who's pushing forward back to the bowler, and there is no run.
He said, "I'm currently listening and working in Honley, which is near Home Firth, famous for the last of the summer wine combo and all." Yeah, I know Home Firth. I watched the Tour de Yorkshire come up through there about 3 years ago. Big climb off towards Sheffield. That middle bit that you don't really see between sort of Manchester and Sheffield.
Hogan balls, and Lees allows to go through outside off stump. Is that a technical term? The middle bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are quite a lot of really nice villages up that way, but it's up on the it's north of the Peak District, really. It's up on the Pennines, but you come off the A1 around about the M1 around about sort of the Barnsley area, and then start heading west. There's varying routes over the top down towards Glossop and stuff.
Hogan runs away from the red advertising logo and is in to bowl to left-handed Lees, who's turning that one neatly through mid-wicket.
Nice shot.
That will, I think, reach the boundary. It does indeed, despite the despairing chase from Andy Gorvin, and runs away for the first boundary of the day. Durham are 11 without loss, and Lees moves to 6.
Derek says his daughters will be helping run the All-Stars at Anmouth tonight, then training with the ladies for the first game on Sunday. His daughter's captain and excited, he says.
Oof. Yeah, good to see All-Stars and Dynamos getting underway. As Hogan bowls, and Lees has a slash at that one outside off stump. Not much bounce in that one, and through to keeper Cook. Johnny Gaffer says, morning all, here's hoping for a good game. I met many really nice Durham supporters last year at Trent Bridge. Good morning to you, Johnny. So, Nick Webb 2017 and Marty Cricket, if you want to communicate via Twitter.
Oh yeah, 2017, the year the debt be paid off.
Hogan is in and bowls, and Lees will get a single here down to third man, 12 without loss.
Where's the life plan now, Nick? Has it been rewritten?
I don't know. I'm yet to get the details. That BBC pensioner announcement yesterday.
Apparently, yes. I didn't see that, but I was reading about it last night.
Interesting. Maybe we'll be here for another 30 years.
Well, I tell you what, I can't imagine retiring. They'll probably just wheel me out of the office in a coffin. We've got all the university thing to come to yet.
Oh gosh, save now.
Yeah.
Save now. Don't let him go to London.
No.
That London town, it's blooming expensive, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, a pal from work, his son's staying in the halls of residence in Leeds, and it's thousands of pounds a year.
Oh yes.
Another colleague's got a daughter in Nottingham. Astonishing amount of money. It's almost as if you should encourage your kids to be sort of okay, but not really want to go to university. Nisa in, 2 Lees. That's beyond the off stump and through to the keeper. What is that?
Some of our electricity is just moving of its own accord.
Somebody's bashing away at the building down below us. Something we meant to know.
Is there something we said wrong?
Oh. It's the ground staff trying to kick out an advertising hoarding.
All right. As long as they're not trying to kick us out.
Must be replacing some of the hoardings ahead of the T20.
Here's
Nisa left by Lees, tight to the line of the stumps again.
Yeah, they're well judged, these leaves at the moment.
More leaves than autumn.
It was autumn last time Glamorgan were here. Seems like only 9 months ago. Ah, yes, it was.
That was it only about 40 minutes into day 3 when the match ended?
It was a pretty one-sided game, and Glamorgan, well, I'm not sure if they even came second that day.
Nisa in from the Lumley end, he bowls, Lees forward to this one, pushes it out towards mid-wicket, no run.
And building up for Salter and Douthwaite for maiden centuries, and neither quite got there.
No, Douthwaite got caught on
96.
96, wasn't it?
Salter on 90. Continuing his career policy of increasing his career best in leaps of 2, so he should be in for a 92 at some point this season. But he's found it tough opening the batting as Andrew Salter, as anyone would when promoted from 7 or 8, I guess.
Nisa to Lees. Lees leaves it alone.
Nisa might be encouraged by this if he manages to bring one back in a little bit, because Lees is leaving some very tight choices outside off stump. Still, he's alright so far. Michael Nisa, 14 wickets at 25 going into this.
2 balls left of this 7th over. Lees squirts one down the floor and through the slip cordon down towards third man.
Single taken. Oh yes, they're getting very excited. The ground staff down in front of us, smashing away at that advertising hook. Oh, someone hasn't paid their bills. They're really being taken off or put on. Are they being added or taken off?
It looks like they might be shaken, not stirred as well.
A ticketing marketplace.
Was it? Final delivery of the over to Dixon. Playing and miss through to the keeper. What is it they're taking away? Oh,
some advert. There we are. Pay more promptly next time, boys.
I think we need to check to see if said firm still exists or not. Can't say I've ever seen that sign.
No, I thought it was the name of the car company initially, but it's not. Michael Hogan then will start his fourth over. He has 0 for 10. Michael Nisa has been his usual parsimonious self. Nearly got the word right. 4 overs, 0 for 3. And Hogan is going to have a go around the wicket, the left-handed Lees. Still with the 3 slips as Hogan is in, bowls, and he's slightly squared up but plays back to the bowler safely enough, and Hogan tosses it on to Carlson, chief polisher of the Glamorgan side.
I have said recently on air that if I opened a pub it would be called the Vacant Third Man. And Stuart Dick's just been on, he says the pub must be shut today because third man isn't vacant, and you're right, it isn't. There is actually somebody down there.
Yeah, they've been called into play as well, as Hogan is into Lees, who pushes forward carefully, ball rolling up to Root at mid-on. No, sorry, that's not Root, he's at mid-wicket. It's Gorvin at mid-on. Made his debut last week. Former Hampshire second 11 player. Came to Cardiff for his studies. Played for the students team in Cardiff. St Fagans Cricket Club on the outskirts of Cardiff. And now getting a chance with the county as Lees is for defending to Carlson at cover.
Are they South Wales Premier League?
Yeah.
Is that what they're playing?
That's the one, yeah. Top level. Matthew Maynard's been involved with them a bit as well.
Who did you say it was who's playing with them? Gorvin?
Gorvin, yeah.
Yeah, I've got that in a note. I had a look to see who he played for at club level last night.
As Hogan is in to bolt, and on the leg side, Root is off in pursuit past the square leg umpire. Will haul this one up inside the boundary, and they've just jogged back very easily for 2 runs as Durham move on to 15 without loss. So a gentle scoring rate, but the without loss the key thing after being put into bat on a cloudy morning and a green pitch.
He actually came through the Hampshire Academy, didn't he? He played all the varying age groups for them.
Yeah.
And who was it who was from Bilf Wells I was looking at last night?
Is that McIlroy?
McIlroy, yeah. I think that was up near where we used to go, sort of mid-Wales, Palace.
Yeah. So, McIlroy played in the first and last championship games of last season, but didn't make the starting 11 this week as Hogan bowls, and that's through outside off stump. Hogan was momentarily interested and thought he might have flicked a glove maybe on the way through, but no appeal as such.
Got an email from Paul Chubb. He said, we're sitting in the disabled bay in front of the Collingwood Pavilion. It's good to be back, he says. Paul and his wife Alison haven't been able to get to a game yet this year. Alison's been under the weather, but nice to know they're here today.
As the next delivery is defended by Lees to Gorvin at mid-on. There's no run. 15 without loss.
Made a journey up from North Allerton today. There's a coach coming into the cricket ground. I wonder if it's going to be full of school kids.
That's which is the day when they've given away lots of tickets.
Saturday, yeah. Unfortunately, I would have brought my girls on Saturday, but they're away for the weekend. So the coach might be coming in. It might be a school trip to the cricket, but it could equally be. And if it is, it's gonna have to reverse out and go another gate because there's a barrier halfway around the back of the pavilion. But they sometimes have schools athletics meets behind us, and athletic track. Bowling by Nisa here to Dixon. That looked like it was veering down the leg side. It hits the pad. And the camera's got its... it's looking at the backwards view rather than the front view there. Can't tell. But on the TV screen, that wicket looks really green, doesn't it?
It is pretty green.
It rained a bit yesterday, but... I mean, they've obviously been watering the ground here. They've got sprinkler systems and everything, but... I can't remember the last time we had a proper bit of rain up here. It's been really dry. Nisa to Dixon. Oh, Dixon edges and he's gone. And he just took a little step back into the crease there before going forward to that one. He's out for 5. Durham 15 for 1. And he's just not looked that comfortable today. Different circumstances for him. So having got 3 consecutive centuries, including a massive 186 at Sussex, then 104 and 105 at Worcester last week. He's out for 5 today. And he's faced 28 balls. Caught by Sam North East in the zips off the bowling of Michael Nisa. And Durham are 15 for 1.
Well, Glamorgan needed that one, really, having made the decision to insert Durham. Obviously, great to get rid of an in-form player, as well as Dixon's run of centuries comes to an end. It was travelling at some pace, I think, because North East, although it was the regulation chest height, took it tumbling backwards.
Yep.
And Dixon stands and looks at the edge of his bat reluctantly, as to say, I'm edged one for a few weeks. What went wrong? Well, no shame there. Decent bowler, Nisa. Now a test bowler, just the one test in that Ashes series against England, but that's enough to say he's won the baggy green as Keegan Peterson arrives in the middle to join Alex Lees. Peterson was another one who wasn't quite in situ for the first round of the season when these teams met last. So he'll be a new one on Glamorgan. Players and supporters, of whom I met one who informed me that there were 2 others, so at least 3 Glamorgan supporters in the ground, but
Gosh, South Wales is going to be empty.
Given the time between the 2 locations, it's not surprising that this is probably Morgan's least well-attended away fixture.
When I got the train back from Cardiff a few weeks ago, as Keegan Peterson's new batsman, the South African plays and misses at one outside the line of off stump. Comes into this one on the back of 50 at Worcester, his first half century for Durham. I walked into the train station on the Monday morning because I wanted to try and book a seat on the train home, and Mark Church walked in.
Oh, right.
Who is the Surrey commentator.
Yep.
But the day before he'd been commentating on Warwickshire, Surrey and Birmingham, and then he'd got the train down to Cardiff on the Sunday night to visit family in Cardiff, and then was heading into the train station the same time as me. He was going back to the Oval to commentate on an IPL match. This is played away by Keegan Peterson off to mid-on. He was doing it down the tube from the press box at the Oval. Now that's a few weeks ago. That's 5 weeks ago.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yep. First round.
It was April the 7th, wasn't it, when the season started? And is the IPL still going on? And I think it had already been going on a bit by then as well, hadn't it?
Goes on and on. It's one of those things that it's probably great to be there.
A bit like Eurovision. It's played out in the covers.
Is that this weekend?
Apparently. I'll be turning my phone off on Saturday night, I think.
Well, it's Ukraine to win. Just on sentimental grounds, isn't it? Most people will vote for them. And UK will probably come last, usually do. On political reasons, no one likes us and we don't care.
Maybe that should be entry for this year. It's been re-released. God save the Queen. 15 for 1. Nisa to Peterson. Peterson turns that off the legs and gets a single down to fine leg. And in fact, he's coming back for a second. He's going to get a move on here, and he does. Good work. The throw coming back in from Michael Hogan to the keeper was a tad on the high side. But good work from Peterson. He chose the second run. It was his call coming back to the danger end.
Well, to ruin Nisa's figures, he's now 5 overs, 1 for 5. And you can tell the standards of Michael Hogan. Even then, he held his hand up in semi-apology in that he hadn't arrowed it directly over the top of the bails which might have had Peterson struggling, but I think it would have needed a direct hit from about 60 metres away to actually cause him real problems. So Hogan now approaches the scene of combat, finds his mark. Umpires Wolf and Middlebrook are consulting. Is it about the state of the ball already? Is it another of those Friday afternoon ones from the ball making factory?
I remember having a Friday afternoon car. Wow. I spent most Fridays in the garage, ironically.
Yes, bits falling off left, right and centre there. Michael Hogan looks rather suspiciously at the ball as he'll come in to bowl to Lees. 2 slips now, and Lees propping forward, defending 2 mid on, and there's no run. Most of my cards have been so old that they couldn't remember when they'd been made. The first car I remember selling for scrap for 25 quid on the grounds that I couldn't get it out of the radio station car park. It had expired. 17 for 1. Hogan is in, and that's played on the offside by Lees, and there is no run.
Paul Wilson says, hi Marty and Nick, greetings from a fairly sunny and warmish Costerdale Hartlepool. Disappointing end to the game last week. Let's hope for a more competitive pitch this week and hopefully a Durham victory. Should be with you for the duration.
Pleased to hear that. Ian Evans says, good start, a couple more by lunch will be great. Yep, 3 by lunch when you insert is the standard mantra, isn't it? As Hogan right arm around to Lees, who's defending that one back to the bowler. Ian says, I noticed that Joe Cook also scored a big ton for the second 11 and can also bowl. Glad they've kept faith with Salter, though. Yeah, well, Joe Cook, unfortunately, didn't score many when he was opening for 8 games in the Championship last season. And I keep on banging on about this, but no one listens. I don't know why he's not tried in that 7 slot as all batter come all round it. As that's played on the onside by Lees, scrambling stop by Gorvin, single taken, 18 for 1, because Joe Cook was a top wicket taker in the One Day Cup, and I know it's a completely different discipline, but you would have thought he'd be worth a go as an all-rounder in the Red Bull stuff. Eddie Byram, by the way, I'm waiting for news on his injury. Hip flexor issue has just come through, being assessed.
Don't talk to me about hip flexors.
Oh right, yes, quite. You tested the flexibility of your hips recently.
Yes, and my head.
As this is nudged away on the leg side, down towards fine leg by Peterson. Again, he'll turn and have a look at the second run, and Lisa's having to scramble. There's an appeal, in fact, at the non-striker's end. Where's the ball ended up?
For 4.
So
that was a brilliant throw. It's hit the stumps, but the umpire was close to his hand, and he's adamant that the batsman was in, and then it ricocheted away, and it's gone for 4 overthrows, so that ends up being 6, doesn't it?
I believe so.
And they ran 2, so it was Lees who... No, it was Peterson running.
Peterson down to find...
Yeah, and he got his bat in, and then the ball hit the stumps, and Lees called him through for another run. Now, while they're deciding that was 5 or 6.
24, 6 has gone up on the boards to Peterson, who clipped it down to fine leg essentially for 2, but... superb piece of fielding by Nista in the far distance.
Are they going to take one off, or are they not?
Surely they'd completed the second, otherwise it would have been out. So it should be 6, I would have thought.
I thought they ran again after it hit the stumps. Got to the other end before the ball crossed the line. That was my point.
Or would it be 7? No. Hogan is in to Peterson. 6 have gone on the board anyway, as Peterson defends that one to Gorvin at mid-on. 24 for 1 at the end of Hogan's over. 10 overs gone here on BBC Sport Online on the website and app.
I'm going to tell you a story now about the trickery of television and the framing of imagery. And the reason I tell you it is because Matthew Mullins has emailed from Shaftesbury in Dorset. Have you been there?
No.
Do you know what Shaftesbury's famous for?
Probably should. A cathedral?
I don't think it has it? It might do. I can't remember the cathedral. But as famous as the Salisbury Cathedral, obviously.
No.
As Nisa comes in here to bowl to a new over to Lees, played up back to the bowler's end, and He says, morning from a cloudy Shaftesbury in Dorset. Let's hope Durham can finally get a first win of the season. Question for Marty, did you manage to get a ticket for the playoff final? I did, but that's by the by, because actually Durham are playing Middlesex that day at Lord's. So we'll have to see how that one pans out. Secondly, Shaftesbury was famous for the Hovis Hill. You know, the kid in that advert from years ago where he's pushing the baker's bike up the cobbled hill. Nita in, bowls, and played back away past the bowler and way up the far end of the field by Lees for 2. Hasn't quite made it to the boundary at the far end. Initially when it left the bat it didn't look like it had the energy, but it's got a bit of momentum as it went past the stumps at the bowler's end, and away it went. 2 runs. So he moves on to 13. Durham 26 for 1. So years ago I was on holiday in that area. Went down to watch the Tour de France in 1994 near Andover in a little village called Wherwell. And then a day or so later we stayed in Shaftesbury for a night on a farm in a barn conversion on this farm, which was really nice, lovely area. So I went to look at the Hovis Hill. As Nisa comes in and bowls. This is played to point, no run there by Lees. And I was underwhelmed. Absolutely underwhelmed.
Alright.
Talk about camera trickery.
Yeah?
You get there, it's hardly any length and it doesn't really look like much of a hill.
No. Well, I've tilted the camera, have they?
Yeah, and the way it framed it, you couldn't see the main road at the bottom of the street. It's only a short little rise.
Yeah, you should have stuck your Baker Boy hat on and played some tinkly music in the background. Stuck it in black and white. Then you'd have had the effect.
Nisa to Lees. Lees pushes the ball out to mid-wicket, no run there. They did have a big plastic loaf of bread at the top of the hill, though, that you can have your photograph taken against. Yeah, rather disappointing. If you want a proper cobbly hill, get yourself to Lincoln round the cathedral. Rosedale Chimney and the North Yorkshire Moors used to have cobbles up it at one time, and I think it's been tarmacked over since then. That's a steep hill. He set to Lees, played off to point, no run.
Come to the South Wales Valleys, everything's steep hills.
But what about cobbles?
No, don't think, not that I know of. If anyone knows of any cobbled streets in the valleys, do let me know.
Good morning, Marty and Nick, says Elizabeth.
Morning, Elizabeth.
She said, surely the red on the Glamorgan kit is a dragon red. Probably. It might match the red on the Welsh flag. Nisa Rain bowls. Oh, nearly edged by Lees. I thought he had edged that one there. He's just got the bat out the road. It came towards the shoulder. He went to play for it and then changed his mind and pulled his bat away and then looked up in the end, disgusted himself and almost aghast that he'd nearly nibbled that one. End of the over. The Welsh cycling team were in Sunderland on Monday night at the Tour Series.
Alright.
Which the winner was a guy called Blake Quick, who was from Australia.
That's appropriate.
I interviewed, and Luke Lamperty, the American Criterion champion, was second.
As Hogan starts a new over, here's 6. He's in ball to Peterson, who pushes to mid-off, no run.
Well, I did a few reports from the race, but where we were standing just near the finish line, there was a nasty crash towards the end, and it transpired it was Thomas Mine, who's a professional rider from Gateshead. He went down heavily on his elbow. So he didn't finish the race. There was a couple of spills in the women's race as well.
Blimey.
They're in Stranraer tonight, of all places.
Hogan into Peterson. Edges just short of Labuschagne at third slip. Got his hands down to block it. Wasn't a chance.
Bounced about a yard in front of him, didn't it?
Harried away.
Elizabeth goes on to say, it may be dry in County Durham, but I can assure you it is not the case in Hamilton. Dog walking has not been a pleasurable experience so far this week. And she said the live stream reception is not the best, but I'll stick with it. Looking forward to 4 days of competitive cricket and a Durham victory.
Hogan is into ball to Peterson. Where's that one gone? Down to fine leg. Off, I suspect, an inside edge, and they're through for a single. Yes, I had a suggestion that sounds not the best on the county stream, but if you can get us synced up with the BBC stream, hopefully that'll be better. If you've got a spare device to hand.
They had issues here at the start of the season with the Leicestershire match, and the switched it off during the lunch interval and reset the system, and it worked fine after that. One of the problems was the buffering, and it was the bandwidth in the stadium from the broadband, so they were looking to increase that.
Hogan bowls and Lees plays that one through the leg side. That'll run away towards the dressing rooms. Just be picked up or stopped inside the ropes by Gorvin, and they're able to come back for 3 runs. So Lees moves on to 16 and Durham on to 30 for 1. Here on BBC Sport Online, also available via the county websites as well. And a fairly easy 3 as Gorvin just had to dap it back a metre or so inside the rope in front of where the players come down the steps. 30 for 1 as Hogan bowling over the wicket to the right-handed Peterson, but not yet, because Peterson is not ready to receive. Not sure whether that was some distraction of visual nature put him off, or whether there's a bit of chat behind him in the slips that
sounds all right
objected to.
Just had a listen there.
Okie dokie.
Sounded a bit Welsh, but other than that.
As Hogan is into Peterson, that's down leg side and claimed by Chris Cook. Well, I can switch into my English public school setting if you desire.
Did you go to a public school?
Absolutely, old boy.
Which one did you go to?
In Clifton College in Bristol.
Oh.
Next to the zoo. Couldn't tell the difference between the boys and the monkeys.
Did you go to Clifton College?
Yeah.
In Bristol.
In Bristol.
So is it up on the top, on Clifton Down?
Next to the zoo, yeah, close to the Downs, yeah. As Hogan is in bowl and Peterson plays that gently to Gorvin, who is now at mid-on, and there's no run. Used to hear the elephants during our maths lessons. It was about a cricket ball throw from our where we had maths over the road, and well, you'd been arrested for it, but you could possibly have hit an elephant with a cricket ball throw from a maths lesson if you'd wanted to. 30 for 1 at the end of the over.
What about a cow's backside?
I don't think they had any cows in there.
I think I can picture the... stayed with some friends who lived on Clifton Down, and we came down the road and it sort of bends round past the zoo. You're just a few streets across from White Ladies Road, aren't you?
Yeah, there's a big cricket square.
Yeah.
The Gloucester Sunderland have played there, I think.
It's a nice area, that.
Prem Sisodia, the Glamorgan spin bowler, did his sixth form education there.
I didn't get into Bristol last year when Durham played there the final game of the season. Couldn't get a hotel for love nor money. The prices were ridiculous, so we ended up staying on a sort of in an industrial zone near Filton Air Base.
Oh, right.
And the team were out there as well. Well, the hotel was alright, but it was on a sort of business park, really. Out of town. Change of bowler. Gorvin is coming into the attack. St. Fagans Cricket Club?
St. Fagans.
Fagans, not Fagan. Why?
No, not Fagan, no.
Well, that would be double G, surely. Fagan.
St. Fagans.
I've never come across the surname Gorvin.
No, I haven't before this particular gentleman.
He's quite small, isn't he? He's
yeah.
Diminutive. Ball's here. It's played by Lees into the covers.
I mean, hopefully now he's full time that he might get a bit more broad across the chest with a bit of work. But this is his first year as a full-time pro. He played last year for the Seconds. He played for Glamorgan in that one-day cup, a handful of games.
Interesting run-up. He's right arm over, bowling to Lees, and this is a misfield out in the covers, but they weren't going to run. Carlton recovers the situation. He starts almost running on the spot. It's a bit like Mark Wood's old style,
but about half the pace, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, how tall is he?
No.
Is he in your book or not?
It's not in Playfair. I'm trying to think. I did interview him when he got a contract at last October.
Comes in and bowls again, driven by Lees up towards mid-off.
He's shorter than me, I can tell you that.
He's 25 years old.
Yeah, just turned 25 a couple of days ago.
Made his debut against Leicestershire last week, got 23 in a wicket.
5'9" he's listed as in the who's who. Yeah, he's going to be one of those bowlers who relies on nagging accuracy for their wickets. He's not going to blast them out.
Came through Hampshire's academy and played for all their age group cricketers, under 13s and whatnot, under 15s, under 18s. This is played by Lees out into the covers again. So rather skinny, not the tallest. He's just walked past the umpire and he comes up to about shoulder height in the umpire.
Well, it is Alex Wolf.
Yeah.
Who is himself less broad than he used to be in his playing days.
Gorvin in again, played by Lee's out towards short mid-wicket, no run. Well, he started decently there. He was Johnny on the spot, and that's a maiden, so we'll be happy with that.
Yeah, just really making his way in the game, even though he has just turned 25. As I said, played mostly for the Glamorgan Seconds and for Wales National County, as well as his club side last season. 4 appearances in the One Day Cup, and not going to harp on it, but he was the man who took the catch to get rid of Cameron Bancroft, which is probably the crucial moment in the final when he was on as a subfielder. Van der Hoogten then is into the attack, having missed last week's game through a minor hamstring knee picked up at Derby. He's got 11 wickets at an average of 30.
I think Alex Wolff might do Gorvin a little bit of a disservice in the fact that Alex Wolff's 6'5", so 5'9" is actually taller than me by my average.
Anyway, it is Tim van der Hoogten, Sydney-born Netherlands international, tossing a few practice balls at Kieran Carlson just to get fully warmed up, and he'll run away from us and bowl. First delivery to Keegan Peterson, 3 slips in there as van der Hoogten bowls and Peterson plays it into the offside. He's found a gap, but Carlson scrambles after it and keeps them down to a single, 31 for 1. Here on BBC Sport Online, if you're just joining us, the man gone, Sean Dixon, in form man, 3 centuries in a row before today, but he edged to Sam North East at second slip off the bowling of Michael Nisa for 5. That's 15 for 1. It's now 31 for 1 with the help of a 6 to Keegan Peterson, but that 6 was courtesy of can't really, difficult to call it, overthrows really, because they'll hit the stumps and cannoned away. Van der Hoogten bowls to Lees, who plays that one through square leg. There'll be at least a couple of runs here. It stopped just inside the ropes, and they'll come back very easily for 2. 33 for 1. So Glamorgan playing the 6th and final in this block of fixtures, and luckily for them, they have 10 days off then before going into the T20. Van der Hoogten to Lees off the back foot. Plays it out on the offside, and there's no run. 33 for 1. Lees 18, Pearson 10, batting to come. Borthwick, Beddingham, and a certain Ben Stokes. Eckersley, Rain, Potts, Cars, and Rushworth. As Van der Hoogten bowls and Lees comes forward, shoulders, arms, allows it to go through outside off stump. In terms of crowd, respectable over on the pavilion side away to our left. A few in the university stand as well, and the other areas not being used at the moment. So we look away to our right, towards the castle. Van der Hoogten bowls, and Lees again allows that one to go through, shouldering arms. Not an awful lot of carry in some of these deliveries. And we've seen around the country a few placid pitches. It certainly doesn't look like one on the surface, because there's a bit of greenery around, and no surprising that David Lloyd chose to bowl first. Van der Hoogten bowls, and Lees has to play this one. Defends it out on the offside. No run, 3 runs off the opening over from Van der Hoogten. Durham are 33 for 1 after 14. Glamorgan's bowling attack. Well, after this they've got seam of David Lloyd available. Seam or spin from Marnus Labuschagne, who's bowled both this season, and spin from Andrew Salter as well, who hasn't been hugely used after that bizarre 7 against Durham in the first match of the season. On the final morning when Durham were looking to press on and get that declaration, they were bowled out instead. Gorvin then runs towards us to bowl to Keegan Peterson with 2 slips, and Peterson defends this one to shortish extra cover, where Carlson is lurking in a not quite in a catching position, but it's certainly closer in than usual on the cover side, and Labuschagne is reasonably tight at mid-wicket as well by the time that Gorvin bowls, so looking to contain as that one's played back down the pitch by Peterson, no run.
I've just checked with the streaming team. They're trying to move around different broadband settings to improve the streaming.
I'm glad someone understands it.
It's all about bandwidth, apparently.
Here comes Gorvin then to bowl to Peterson, who plays that one out on the offside, fielded by Salter, running round from point, and there's no run. So a quiet start from Peterson, albeit with a 6 to his name. An inadvertent 6 with the ball striking the stumps at the non-striker's end. Lees was home, luckily for him, as Peterson turns the wrists on that one and flicks it down to Hogan at fine leg. Must be coolish out there because Hogan's actually got a jumper on. Hogan through for a single. 34 for 1.
David Pritchard.
One of my colleagues.
Yeah, he was with us at the opening week, wasn't he?
Yep, Dav. Yep.
He's just emailed, Australia has been confirmed as host for the Rugby World Cup 2027.
Yes.
That's the men's, and 2029 the women's.
Yep. England's got the 2025 women's, as that's defended by Lees out on the offside, no run, and thereafter off to the States.
The USA.
For men's in 31 and women's in 33.
Yeah.
That is forward planning.
That's kind of a long way ahead, that. Is that when our pensions run out, was it? At the Tour Series last week, they had the Rugby League World Cup trophies on show.
As Lees defends that on the leg side. Hogan is at square leg for some reason, and there's no run. End the over.
And basically, I think you'd need to be a Rugby League player to lift it. It was huge.
Yeah,
I thought it could have climbed inside.
Blimey. Apologies to Andy and Ian, who report buffering as well. They're trying to deal with it, but the commentary on the BBC website and app is okay, so get your phone or your tablet and match them up. And Freddie Jones suggests Constitution Hill in Swansea, which he says used to be a regular feature for the cyclists on the Tour of Britain, and plenty of cobbles for Marty to enjoy.
Big appeal here from Van der Houten against Peterson for LBW. He was backpedaling, arms raised. The umpire says no. Yeah, there was, I've heard of Constitution Hill. You got the Devil's, is it the Devil's Staircase just outside Swansea as well? That was a time on the Tour of Britain.
The gradient of 20% on Constitution Hill.
Yeah.
Apparently. Featured in the film Twin Town.
Oh, I've seen that one, yeah. Van der Houten bowls, defended by Peterson. It's gone off towards mid-wicket. There'll be an update for Radio Newcastle soon. When do you do yours?
1 o'clock this one.
Right. And a lot of people would have seen those horrendous scenes of the cars being sent careering down those steep hills in Swansea last year during those disturbances.
Yeah.
Fighting that.
Yeah, I think that's gone through the course.
34 for 1. Van der Houten comes in and bowls. Inside edge from Peterson onto the pad, and then it trickles away behind towards the keeper. Might have actually come off the glove, that, looking at the replay. So Peterson's top score for Durham was 50 last week at Worcester. He was the ICC International Player of the Month in January. Apparently Newcastle are now mathematically safe, not just looking like they weren't going to go down. Stopped play here as the ball was coming in. He's turning to his mark. Something put Peterson off again. My cousin, who's a Leeds United season ticket holder, doesn't fancy their chances. Van der Houten balls. Playing a miss this time from Peterson. It's gone through the keeper quickly. It's beyond the outside edge of the bat and past the off stump. Two balls left of this 16th over. Here we go, update for Radio Newcastle. Yes, first hour gone here. Glamorgan put Durham in, and this is an amazingly looking green top of a wicket, so Durham have decided to keep a bit of grass on and try and go for a result this week, because they've had 4 draws and a defeat so far. One of those draws was in the opening round of matches against Glamorgan. Bryden Coss has returned from injury. It's his first county championship appearance since July the 5th last year, so he comes into the team for Durham along with Ben Rain. And Sean Dixon, having got 3 centuries in a row in his last 3 innings, has gone for just 5 today. He edged a ball from Michael Neser, the Australian international, to Sam Northeast in the slips, so he departed for 5 with a score on 15 in the 9th over. Durham currently 34 for 1, Alex Lees has 18 and Keegan Peterson has 11. Van der Houten 2 overs, no wickets, 1 maiden, 3 runs. So that was a maiden from him.
So Andrew Gorvin just conceded the single in his first couple of overs. David Lloyd might well be seen bowling a bit of seam himself, or Labuschagne bowling seam. Here's Gorvin into bowl, and Lees works him on the leg side, and there's no run. And Lees already has got the air of a man settling in for a long occupation, as he did in Cardiff. Reasonably unhurried so far. As Gorvin runs towards us and bowls, and at least works it away on the offside. It's beaten a sprawling Harris at cover, who's temporarily on as a substitute fielder, and they've gone through for 2 runs. So the Glamorgan players in the squad who weren't in the 11. James Wheel, who might have been picked, but feeling rough this morning. James Harris and Jimmy McIlroy. There's Gorvin bowls, and at least there was this one through mid-wicket where Carlson this time sprawls and doesn't stop, and Billy Root running backwards towards the cover boundary in front of that stand that's going to be built for the T20 stuff, and again a couple of runs. So at least moves up to 22 not out, and Durham on to 38 for 1. The flags on top of the pavilion blasting out in the breeze as Lees drives, but hits that one hard down into the ground, and straight to cover. 38 for 1. Dixon, the man, out for 5. Gorvin then, legs pumping, into ball. Lees drives, mistimes it, inside edge on the pad. Ball dribbles out to Salter at point, and there's no run. Morgan gesticulating towards the dressing room, and I think that was signal for a helmet, so Cook might well be intending to stand up to Gorvin medium pace, just to get Lees thinking a bit more. Gorvin bowls, and that's reached Cook on the second bounce. 38 for 1. This may look a bit of a green top, but haven't seen anything disturbing at all for the batters so far in terms of the pitch's behaviour, and quite a bit has gone through fairly low.
Just wondering about the pace of the wicket, maybe.
Gorvin's not the fastest anyway, but there's one from Van der Houten died as well. So there has been the general tendency, isn't it, around the country to have more batter-friendly wickets.
Van der Houten to start his 3rd over from the Finkel end. He's got 3 slips in place still. As he comes in the ball, right arm over to Peterson. Peterson drives past point and away off towards the pavilion boundary. It slows, and they'll run at 3. I think, was that David Lloyd out there got a hand on that?
No, Salto retrieved it.
Who was diving at point? I think he may have got a hand on it as it was coming through.
Salter and Carlson were after it between them. Right. But they all change round now for left-hander. Carlson goes up to mid-on, and Salter has to cross in the opposite direction from the umpire.
And the hit again comes in bowls, defended by Lees. Goes out to the offside.
Yeah, Glamorgan would be hoping for some more joy in the next 50 minutes. Otherwise, they might regard it as something of a missed opportunity, but the pitch doesn't help them.
Hogan in, not Hogan, Van der Houten. It's left by Lees. He watches that go through into the keeper's gloves.
More polishing from Carlson. Must spend half his day polishing in the field. Seems to be the designated man.
Bowler comes in. Lees turns this towards backwards square leg. He might get two here. It's gone all the way off towards the Health Club boundary. He does get two.
Lots of 2s and 3s today. Not that many boundaries. But I suppose it is a pretty large playing surface. And actually, for once, they're using most of it. Way to our right, the rope is no more than about 10-15 metres in from the boundary boards at the most.
And the bowls, defended by Lees. Back to the bowler along the floor on the leg side.
So the 3 slips still in place for Van der Houten. North East has already been in business with the only wicket so far.
Last ball of the over, pushed out towards mid-off for a quick single by Lees, who will keep strike. And he moves on to 25. Durham 44 for 1.
It's all looking very comfortable at the moment for Durham's batters. They haven't been beaten that often outside off stump. And although it did look the right decision to insert from David Lloyd, there are a lot of eyebrows raised when he inserted last week against Leicestershire, and Glamorgan only claimed a couple of wickets in the first 2 sessions, but they managed to drag that one back and finally finish off the Foxes in the final session of the 4th day. Rather more limping than running Foxes. Here's Gorvin into bowl. Lees on the pads as he looks to turn towards square leg, and there's no run.
As marketing goes, that running Foxes thing's a bit strange, isn't it?
It's very odd, especially when they suffered 3 run-outs in an innings, so I neatly changed it to the run-out Foxes. Here's Gorvin to Lees. Keeper standing up. Lees plays it on the leg side. Carlson fields. No run. And if you want to give away a cricket match, Leicestershire really did that. 3 run-outs and a stumping in their first innings, the Leicestershire first innings batting, and then they gave away 50 runs in no balls in the course of the match, so 25 no balls, most of them oversteps. As Lees drives but doesn't time it, was looking through the covers, but it ended up back with the bowler.
Richard Wilson's tweeted about Alex Lees, or Alex Lees, depending. He said, "Good afternoon, Marty and fellow commentator." He said, "Only a trivial question, but I've noticed a number of co-commentators pronounce Alex Lees' surname as Lees rather than with the soft S, which is correct."
You put me off now. As Gorvin comes in to bowl to the left-hander who plays on the leg side. I've been trying to follow you, Marty, but...
Well, it's Lees. It sounds like a Z, but it is an S. But yeah, who was it? Might have been a few weeks ago. It's Leicestershire. I think it was Richard was calling him Lees as well. But I mean, his nickname's Leesy. Everybody refers him
as long as it's not sleazy.
Yeah. So.
Here is Gorvin to bowl to Lees with Z, who plays this through mid-wicket, and will this one reach the ropes? Root is off in pursuit. It's teasing Root, and it's just about crosses the ropes for 4 runs. 48 for 1 Durham, and Lees is up to 29.
Yeah, Dale Benkenstein, when he played here, I said Benkenstein, others said Benkenstein.
Well, I got 2 in the Glamorgan attack, Nisa, which is the correct version, but some of his teammates call him Ness.
You say Nisa, I say nice.
Gorvin, not much doubt about that, into Lees, who drives to mid-off, and there's no run, and there's the great Van der Hoogten debate, which several of his teammates say Van der Gooten.
Yeah.
So, if they can't get it right in the dressing room, what hope have we got? 48 for 1 at the end of the Gorvin over. He's bowled 4 overs, 0 for 9. And we are 19 overs into the day's play. Just over 12:15. Chris Drew suggests time to wind up the Marnus in whichever style he chooses to bowl this week. Yep, apologies to Greg Young. We are aware that there are sound issues on the video stream. Try listening on the BBC website. It's lovely.
Van der Hoogten comes in and bowls, left by Keegan Peterson. I interviewed Keegan Peterson a few weeks ago, and I say, are you aware of the other person from the northeast with the name that you shared? He hadn't heard of him.
Really?
He hadn't heard of Kevin Keegan.
Good heavens. Thought that would be one of those names that are known around the world.
Yeah. Everton Weeks was named after Everton Football Club. Former West Indian player. Ball that comes in, driven by Keegan Peterson off towards, is that Carlson in there, in the short extra cover?
Yes, he's
got something on his hand.
Yeah, he's had his hand strapped for weeks. Occasionally suffers from over-enthusiasm, Kieran Carlson, in that he runs too hard at the ball and then doesn't field cleanly occasionally. I mean, he's usually an excellent fielder, but there's a sort of puppyish enthusiasm about him that occasionally overdoes it.
Durham 48 for 1 here on the BBC. Peterson pushes that nicely in between bowler and Carlson at mid-off. The ball running up towards the boundary at our end of the ground, but it slows. Carlson should get there. He just manages to keep his foot in as he stops the ball about 2 yards from the ropes. They run 3, and Durham have 50 on the board in the 20th over. So 50 for 1, 19.3 overs.
Just a fraction then over 2.5 runs and over. Yeah, Kieran Carlson there not risking putting his mitt firmly on the ball, just dabbed it back as he slid over the ropes because he knew he was going to do that. A couple of the Glamorgan entourage beneath us. Mark Walton, one of the coaching assistants, and Georgina Ewart, the physio. The work for her, thankfully, so far today. Or not on the field, anyway.
Just written a tweet here as the bowler comes in round the wicket now to Lees. Played off towards square leg for 1. Peterson going to danger end. The ball back in, hits him from Labuschagne, hits him on the back of the leg, but doesn't get a run. Yeah, it's just a hit at Glam, and then tapped on what I believed was Glamorgan Cricket, and just as I was about to post it, I realised that it said Glamour magazine.
Oh,
I thought, where's that come from?
Oh, there we are. At least it's not a tractor magazine.
Yeah.
They're probably banned from BBC laptops, tractor magazines.
Yeah, I think you're ploughing your own furrow there.
Oh, boom.
2 balls of this 20th over to go. Peterson is on strike. Bowler coming in from the Finkel end. This is defended. It runs gingerly back up towards the bowler's end. Derek says in a cup game yesterday, one of the players hit his first 6 of the season, and it was the sound of the summer so far. Last ball from Van der Hoogten in this 20th over comes in and bowls to Peterson, who tries to drive off back foot, doesn't connect with it very well. It bobbles out into the covers. That is the end of the over. Durham are 52 for 1 on BBC Radio Newcastle, BBC Radio Wales. If you want to get in touch with us, there are a number of ways. You can email weircricket@yahoo.co.uk, WEAR. It's named after the river which runs around this ground. And years ago, when we first started doing the Durham commentaries in 2004, they were on the BBC Weir website, hence the address. Or it's at Marty Cricket, or it's at Nick Webb 17.
2017.
2017.
2017.
Brackets, retirement plans in tatters closed brackets.
That's the one. Andrew Gorvin, 25 years old, at the start of his full professional career, is in to bowl, and forward comes Lees and defends into covers, and there's no run.
He's actually, I'll tell you who he reminds me of. I know I said he starts his run like Mark Wood used to, but he reminds me of a young Paul Collingwood, similar style to him.
All right. Be happy with his career, that's for sure. So Gorvin is in again to bowl to Lees, who drives and will get 4 runs through cover points, and Andrew Salter didn't bother pursuing that one too vigorously. That's one of the more emphatic shots of the morning, and Lees moves on to 34, and the total on to 56 for 1. Edward Cooper, whose geography is better than mine. Devil's Staircase is a fair step from Swansea. He says, try Abergorlach or Llanwr Tidwells or Llandovery.
Super G mentioned it. I got bought a book a couple of Christmases ago. His favourite climbs.
Alright. Lees steps back and cuts, this time Salter Fields.
And I knew about the Devil's Staircase anyway, but he mentions it in one of the chapters on a circular ride where they used to go out. Possibly, where was he from? Is he from Swansea or not?
Geraint Thomas, Cardiff.
It was a circular ride they used to do, where they used to go up into the hills for the day. And that was the big feature climb. You'll have a few based around Newport now anyway, won't you, with the velodrome?
So that one's driven again by Lees, up to wide mid-off, and there's no run. I'll have to go a while there to get up into the hills north of Newport.
Yeah, well, I think this route he describes in the book I think it was out of Swansea. And big circular ride. I mean, they think nothing of doing a 70-80 mile ride, would they?
There's Gorvin bowls, and Lees drives, but finds cover, and there's no run. Geraint Thomas, Gareth Bale, Sam Warburton, Wells rugby captain, and Glamorgan's Kieran Carlson, all products of Whitchurch High School in Cardiff. So it's got Carlson's got a fair way to get himself on top of that school's list of sporting heroes, even though he did win a trophy last season with Glamorgan. As Gorvin bowls and Lees off the back foot, plays to Carlson at short mid wicket. There is no run, 56 for 1, and it's all very placid almost for these batters at the moment. And
it's more or less what we've seen every week of the season so far.
Glamorgan, well, David Lloyd might have a few qualms about his decision to put Durham in, but it looked the right one at the time, looking both down at the pitch and up at the sky.
8 games in the latest round of county championship matches, and there's a couple of derbies as well. El Sideco in the West Country, where Gloucestershire play Somerset, and it's the Roses as well. Van der Hooten to Peterson. That's lovely. That's really nicely timed. Just a lovely little flick off the feet there. Roll of the wrists out the middle of the bat, past square leg and away to the Castle stand for 4, which still doesn't have any seats in it. Northants are at home. No, they're not. They're away to Warwickshire, and they are 76 for none after 20 overs. Surrey playing Kent. That's a bit of a derby as well, isn't it, actually? Surrey 76 for none as well. Lancashire against the Yorkies in Leeds. This is a slow affair. 28 for 2.
Really?
20 overs?
Blimey.
What on earth?
Yeah, that's delighting 5 Live listeners.
Yeah. Van der Hooten to Peterson, played back to him. He tries to snatch at it one-handed. It just bounces away, but comes to rest and is fielded from mid-off. Worcestershire are in Derby. 55 for 2 they are. Leicestershire are playing Sussex in Leicester. Leicestershire 41 for 1. Notts are at Middlesex, who are without Shaheen and Freedy. Notts 67 for 1. They're all more or less bang on the same in the 21st over. So there's your scores from the County Championship at the moment. In comes the bowler again, that's left alone. Shaheen and Freedy, Mohammed Rizwan, Mohammed Amir, Hassan Ali are all missing the latest round of County Championship matches. The Freedy's returning to Pakistan to prepare for international duty. Harris Ralph is back at Yorkshire. Now this means then Matty Potts has an opportunity to sail away ahead of Hassan Ali, because Ali's not playing this weekend. Ali of Lancashire and Matty Potts of Durham both have 24 wickets in the championship so far. Van der Houten again bowls. Played away up towards mid-off, no run.
That's a bit naughty if the counties didn't know about that requirement from the Pakistan board when they signed these guys.
Yeah, well.
I mean, Afridi plays a lot of cricket, but it does seem to have come as something of a surprise the way it's been reported.
Van der Houten to Peterson. Peterson dabs this out through mid-wicket nicely. Should be 2 runs. Ball coming down towards our corner of the ground. 15 for 1 when these two came together, so score now moves on to 62 for 1, and the partnership is worth 47 for 81 balls.
Jordan Thompson, responsible for his Lancashire early struggles with a couple of wickets.
Van der Houten, that's left by Peterson outside the off stump, and that is the end of the over. So 22 overs gone here on BBC. I was trying to think back to the last time somebody hit 6 sixes when Stokes was going after Josh Baker last week. He'd hit 5 in a row. There was a massive conflap to what the bowler should do next. And Stokes came down the track and launched it back over his head, but you couldn't really tell if he'd got enough of the bat on the ball, and it just started to dip inside the rope. He said later, as soon as it left his bat, he realised it wasn't going to be a 6. But I was trying to rack my brain for the last example of it, and the only thing I could think of was Graham Clark, who plays here, his brother, in a second team game a few years ago for Yorkshire against Lancashire, and Scarborough hit 6 sixes. And the only footage of it was some really grainy mobile phone footage of the final shot.
Yeah, it's pretty grainy, the BBC footage of the Sobers stuff, but they were lucky to get it at all actually, because it wasn't live. As Gorvin bowls and Lees is forward defending to mid-off, and there's no run. Other Glamorgan players associated with 6 sixes, Ravi Shastri and Herschel Gibbs.
Who hit Stuart Broad in the T20 competition when he was playing for England?
It was Brathwaite, wasn't it?
No, that was...
No. As Gorvin bowls, driven back past him. That's nicely timed by Lees. That one will be running away into the far distance. And that'll be 4 runs to bring up the 50 partnership between these two. It's come off 84 balls. Lees has 28 of them, and Peterson 23.
It was at a T20 World Cup. Stuart Broad went.
As Lees defending that one back past Gorvin up to mid-on, no run. Yuvraj?
I'm trying to think. I remember it happening. I was in the commentary box at Canterbury, so it might have been the season when Durham won the title.
Gorvin bowling around the wicket for the left-handed Lees, who is back on his stumps defending. Ball rolls out to mid-wicket, and there's no run. Batting is looking very easy at the moment for Alex Lees. And you would have thought that Durham would have eyes on a big total today, or indeed into tomorrow. The pitch is playing so far. Gorvin bowls and Lees stretches forward, playing defensively to mid-off, no run. Especially with Glamorgan playing one fewer bowler than last week against Leicestershire. Billy Root may be batting at 7 as a specialist bat, which is unusual. Here's Gorvin, and this one is off inside edge and pad from Lees, trickles down into the gully. There is no run. 66 for 1 at the end of the over. Gorvin 6 overs, 1 made, 0 for 17.
I just tweeted a little bit earlier a photograph of the wicket saying that looks like a green top, let's see how it plays. And Craig Lang says, was it a surprise they chose not to bat then? I.e. Glamorgan chose not to bat. I think generally what happens is people see green wickets and think they're going to do a lot, don't they?
Yeah, and look up and see it's probably the cloudiest day of the 4 as well.
Yeah, we've only got highs of about 14 today. We've got a cool westerly wind, and it is overcast. And the Hooten to Peterson. Peterson plays the ball down towards long leg. and we'll come back for 2.
They're keen on these twos, aren't they?
Yeah. Some good running.
Yes, I wasn't at all surprised that Lloyd chose to bowl first, but what do I do? Maybe it's not going to provide much help to anyone at any point.
I hope it doesn't end up being a really dull 4-day draw again, with masses and masses of runs and few wickets. Van der Houten bowls, pulled down towards the leg by Peterson for 1. There's a shortish delivery, veering down the leg side. There's actually, first time I've really looked at it, there's quite a decent crowd in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's respectable, yeah.
The terrace across in front of the health club, there's quite a few people in there.
Yeah, that's quite heavily congested, that area of the ground. Pavilion, pretty respectable. University stand, well, there's a few dotted around. And the castle stand, all the seats are on the ground underneath the stand.
Yeah. Wondering if the spectators have chosen the health club area. As the bowler comes round the wicket, he'd have a go at Lees, played to square leg. They are going to be in the lee of the pavilion and the health club there, so they might be out the breeze.
Little knowledge.
I think your average punter today who's in the County Durham stand on our right hand side is going to be exposed to that wind. And I can't see any t-shirts anywhere. Can't really see anybody in shorts. It's all dark winter coats by the looks of things. Not the warmest of days. Halfway through this over, Lees plays us down towards third man for 1.
Yeah, looking at the forecast, I sort of hedged my bets, brought a couple of short-sleeved and a couple of long-sleeved and a couple of sweatshirts as well, so hopefully I got all bases covered for the 4 days. Not that we spend much of time subject to the weather anyway. But we'll walk back and forth to the castle, it's about as much exposure to the weather as I'll get.
Van der Houten to Peterson. Peterson pushes the ball wide of the slip cordon and down towards third man to the health club, 1 run.
Well, so far it's looked pretty easy batting conditions.
Yeah.
And there have been remarkably few false shots, given that we're on the first morning of a game. So will it be Lloyd, Labuschagne or Salter next?
Next delivery is played back up towards the bowler's end. In fact, it's snatched by the bowler off Lees. Dot ball, end of the over. So 24 gone. 71 for 1. Durham having been put in by Glamorgan earlier, and the man go Dixon edging the ball from Michael Nisa to Sam North East in the slip cordon, departed for 5. That was in the 9th over. Durham were 15 for 1 at the time. So they've moved on to 71 for 1 since then. Lees has 39, Peterson 27.
So will we see another double change as David Lloyd deals in half dozens? Well, we will, but it's Michael Nisa brought back for a second blast. Oof, it's going to be a hard day's work for him. He's the wicket taker so far, 1 for 7 off his first 6 overs. And Glamorgan's once capped Australian bowler is back into the attack. As he boots his marker disc around. Makes sure it's where he wants and turns and runs towards us. Towards Peterson, who drives back to the bowler. Nisa getting a hand to it in his follow through. And there's no run. Both combatants here born in South Africa, but Nisa and Labuschagne both moving to Australia at the age of 10 or 11, and both representing their adopted countries. Labuschagne is out of the slips. There are just 2 slips for this spell from Nisa, Lloyd and North East as Nisa bowls, and checked drive by Peterson. It's straight to mid-off, and there's no run. Nisa scratching away. I'm surprised he didn't get into trouble with the umpires, because he does that quite a lot, scratching away the crease with his boots on his way back to his mark.
How long did it take you to get up yesterday?
Oh,
5 hours or something?
Yeah, it was about 5 hours 20 actually on the road and a couple of half-hour stops. So meandered up in my own time. As Nisa in and glanced by Peterson down to fine leg, single taken, 72 for 1. Thankfully the weather was okay, and apart from the pointless 50-mile-an-hour zones on several motorways, the traffic wasn't too bad.
Had my first venture into Wetherby the other night on the way home from Worcester. And some fish and chips, and had to fill up with fuel.
All right. Small mortgage, large mortgage?
Oh, I went into the town centre.
All right. Nisa bowls, and forward comes Lees, defending gently an offside, no run.
I can't imagine why anybody, particularly if they were paying for fuel out of their own pocket, would ever consider going into a motorway service station for fuel.
Well, it's bad enough at your supermarket fuel stations at the moment, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's ridiculous prices, but I mean, the motorways have always been, silly amounts of money a litre ahead of everybody else. 20p a litre.
Nisa steaming in, bowling to Lees. No shot played through to Cook.
A few months ago, I used to fill my car up, and it used to take about £73 to fill it up, and then the last time I filled it up, about a fortnight ago, was 105 quid.
Well, I try and minimise the damage on the BBC budget as well, but it's pretty horrendous whatever you do. As Nisa's in, bowls, Lee flicks it off his legs down towards fine leg. Van der Hochten makes ground to his right in front of the County Durham stand, and this time for once they just settle for a single. So Nisa 1 for 9 off 7 now. Has been the most containing of the bowlers. Everyone else has gone for 2-3, or Van der Hochten going at 4 and over at the moment, which we won't be happy with. And looks as though David Lloyd is going to have a bowl himself now, having been 0 for 200 or thereabouts in the first 4 matches of the season. He did actually take a couple of important wickets to make breakthroughs against Leicestershire in the second innings, so those his 2 wickets of the season so far, as he will bowl at a military medium, as the approved saying. Chris Cook is standing back at least initially, but may decide to come up to the stumps if Lees is straying forwards.
Is he There's a guy at Kent, is he Darren Stevens-ish? Says here, right, on medium fast.
Well, make your own mind up. I think faster than Stevens, but on the medium side of the Glamorgan attack anyway.
How often does he bowl himself?
Most about 5th change.
That stings his finger ends. That was an over-pitch delivery, possibly an attempt at Yorker. It's thumped into the ground and springs back towards the bowler, and he raised a hand to try and stop it. It's wrapped off the end of his fingers and it's stinging his hand, and the ball races away for 4. That's kind of smart. How many overs has he bowled this year? 66. He's taken 2 for 241. 12 maidens. Best bowling 2 for 40. It's going back to those fuel prices. When they announced they were taking 5p off a litre in duty.
All right.
A few weeks ago, as Lloyd comes in again here. Oh, he's got a wicket. That's an absolute mess there. Lees looks to cut, and he's chopped onto his stumps and lost his leg stump. He's dragged that back onto the leg stump from a long way outside the off stump. He's gone for 44, and Durham are 77 for 2, and he's annoyed with himself. He's just kicked the ground there as he headed off, and a bad shot, thick inside edge, bottom corner of the bat, took the stump out of the ground.
Yeah, it was probably heading about 5th stump as he looked to force it away on the offside, but as you say, thick inside edge. And David Lloyd doing the business himself with his 3rd wicket of the season. Applause from the home crowd for Lees, but after his 180 in Cardiff, Glamorgan will be pretty satisfied to get rid of him for just 44. And David Lloyd, just a little change of pace, slightly slower than certainly Nisa Hogan or Van der Hochten, but looking to force a ball that maybe wasn't quite there for the shot. And Lees is gone. Public address is quite quiet, or
I think they've turned it.
distance.
I think they've turned it down. It's normally a lot louder than that.
hardly hear us at all from this end. Not that we're complaining after being deafened by Dr. Hickman and Cardiff with our sound effects microphone usually fairly near to a speaker. But that's a little bit of a Billy bonus for Glamorgan, that one. Hadn't really looked to be creating that many chances. And Leeds, having looked in no difficulty whatsoever, is back in the hutch. Into the skipper. So it stays a right-left combination.
Scott Borthwick's the new man, who looked set for a century last week at Worcester. Got a half century against Glamorgan in the opening game of the season, made 64 there. Facing Lloyd, that's a lead past the off stump. What did he get last week? 89.
Was it that much of a road at New Road, the wicket?
I mean, there was a little bit of bounce in it, but if you got hold of the ball, it was going to the boundary. And there were certainly runs to be had. I mean, Durham made 580 for 6 and declared.
Flattened out, I take it, on the final day, did it?
Yeah, well, they didn't enforce the follow-on. It's Lloyd plays this one, and it's bowls this one. It's cut by Borthwick out towards the covers. They'd bowled 100 overs, and what had happened was the last 3 wickets for Worcestershire took quite some time to come, and Durham decided to bat again. And I think they said they wanted to give the bowlers a couple of hours break, but it just took all the sting out of the game. So they had a 271 run lead. So Lloyd bowls to Borthwick. This is played off towards square leg. I was already wondering whether they'd ever be able to bowl them out again, and by the time Durham decided not to enforce the follow-on, it was looking like it was probably going to end in a draw. But in the second innings, they made 170 and then declared. So the lead was 441. Worcestershire had about 3.5 or so sessions in which to go after their runs, but never bothered. And at one point, they were needing only 4 and over, but they just weren't interested. Jack Haynes batted much of... that's a nice shot from Borthwick to get off the mark. That's going to go through the covers off the back foot for 4. Nicely timed off towards the river side of the ground. Yeah, Jack Haynes batted with Azhar Ali and got 120 his best knock, but he was out there for hours. He faced 276 balls in the end, and him and Ali made 92. They put on 195 for the 3rd wicket, which was the highest stand for any wicket in a championship match by Worcestershire against Durham. But it just ate up so much time in the game, and Durham had Worcestershire 2 down, I think.
Yeah.
On at the end of night 3.
Yeah, it's only 1 wicket on the final day, wasn't it?
And then the next wicket never came for 59 overs, and it was quite late into the afternoon by the time it did.
So Nisa will start a new over to Keegan Peterson once he's made sure where his marker is, and then he walks away from it and circles in to approach it. Bit of sunshine now, illuminating Riverside, and Peterson runs that one down to gully, and there's no run. So I take it was pretty jammed for the seasonal debut of Ben Stokes in the rather small media area there.
Well, there were 7 people there from national newspapers and cricketing websites, and I have never seen as many people in the county could before. You used to, a few years ago, you would have somebody from the Times and the Telegraph.
Yeah.
You know, and you'd have your local newspaper writers, maybe a couple of those, but to see 7 national newspaper writers there.
As Nisa steams in and bowls, and Peterson plays on the leg side, mid-wicket, no run.
TV as well, a certain sports channel did well.
All right.
You would have seen they had a cameraman there, and he was there to film Stokes, who teed off nicely for him in day 2.
Yeah, it was all question of waiting for Godot on day 1, wasn't it? Because Stokes didn't actually take the field, did he?
There was 2 or 3 writers turned up on day 1 who weren't there on day 2.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
Nisa is in to bowl to Peterson, allowed to go through outside off stump. I suppose they were torn between there and Chelmsford, where Joe Root was playing his first match of the season.
Well, from what I gathered, one of the lads went home, back up to Leeds. Popsy was there for the first 2 days for Cricket Info. 1 or 2 papers replaced the original reporters they had with others as the game went on.
So Stokes will be with us at 6, we presume. Number 6 in the order, that is. There's Nisa bowls, and that's driven gently by Peterson to mid-off. No run.
Yeah, Mike Atton was there day 1, but I can't recall him there day 2.
No, I think it was.
Gibbo from the Mail was there day 1, but then went home. I mean, the guy could have had absolutely all kinds going on. That were already in their plans, I don't know. But Salisbury was there. Is he the Telegraph? I can't remember who he writes for.
Not sure.
He was there the last 2 days.
As Nisa starts to charge in and then realises that Peterson was surveying his surroundings and not ready to receive. Now Peterson settles and Nisa is in to bowl and Peterson plays it gently to cover.
Yeah, he's a Daily Telegraph. So Tim Wigmore was there for day 1 for them, and maybe day 2, I can't remember, but then Seal came day 3 and 4. And then it was bizarre because day 3 was Saturday, but even a lot of the local journalists weren't there on Saturday because they were off covering football matches. So then other people turned up on Saturday. So some of them only saw one day of the game.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most quietest passages of play.
Nisa in to bowl. Peterson on the back foot defence to cover. There is no run. 81 for 2. Borthwick has 4. Peterson has... where's he got on the board? 28. He's number 29. He has 28. The man out. Dixon for 5. Lees for 44. Wicket apiece to Nisa and Lloyd as we approach luncheon. Around about 9 minutes to go, so maybe 3 overs.
Don Lloyd in to bowl to Scott Borthwick, who plays that up to mid-on. No run there. Borthwick is now playing in his 307th match in all formats for Durham, so I was looking forward to him making the 300 appearance first or second game of this season compared to the stats that I had last year, and then when I look back at them again online, they'd updated and there were 3 or 4 more other games in there. Turns this nice legs down towards the square leg boundary 4-2. He moves on to 6. Durham 83-4-2.
All is maybe just about even for the morning session at the moment. Glamorgan would have wanted 3, having chosen bowl first, but given the lack of response from the wicket, I think they've done reasonably well to get 2.
Lloyd bowls, cut by Borthwick down into the ground, and it loops over point and is being chased towards the boundary here by, I think it's Salter.
It nearly always is Salter at point. Yeah. It's a rule of thumb for commentating on Glamorgan. If it goes in the point area, it's probably Salter if he's playing.
I didn't see, when the ball left the bat there, I never saw where it went. I just saw him leaping up into the air. Do you think
pretty sure it was chopped down?
Yeah.
Might have got a finger on it, but it was probably being hit firmly downwards that took the momentum off the ball and the intervention of the fielder.
Well, that's 2 2s in a row that Scott Borthwick has scored here. Lloyd's going to come round the wicket to the left-hander. 2 slips in place. Vacant third man.
Oof.
Ooh. Which I think is where Borthwick was looking to clip the last one. This is played to short mid-wicket, no run there.
Edward Bevan will have steam coming out of his ears in Trabanos. Why isn't there third man?
How is Ed this in the last few weeks?
Yeah, he's good. He's in good form.
He messaged me after I bashed myself up a couple of weeks ago to see if I was alright. 85 for 2, and that's a leg stump Yorker played away by Borthwick out the mid-wicket for 1. One ball left of the over. Peterson back on strike on 28. Borthwick's on 9. And this is the end of the 28th over.
30 in the morning session, it's fairly standard, I suppose.
Yeah.
With an exclusive diet of seam, even though 2 of the bowlers, Lloyd and Gorvin, don't come off huge runs.
Lloyd to Peterson. This is defended and it runs back to the bowler. That is the end of the over. I think the lack of a spinner in the Durham team, i.e. Travascus leaving the 11 and being replaced by Cars, means they're going with a seam attack of Rushworth, Potts, Cars, Ben Rain and Stokes. So really just Scott Borthwick with spin, and he doesn't bowl himself that much. So one of the worries I'm sure William the scorer might have is if the over rate starts to fall, and there's no Travascus to try and get it back up again.
There's a slight delay while Helmet is brought out, and it is going to be Andrew Salter to bowl the token over off spin before lunch. So although he'll whip through quite quickly between deliveries, there's an extra time taken because it means that Chris Cook has to get his helmet brought out. Salter polishing away. So where are we? 12:56. Should get another one in unless the ball is dispatched to all parts. Salter then bowling off spin. 7 wickets in that remarkable second innings of Durham down in Cardiff, but has only taken 3 more since. And he'll be bowling to Borthwick, and starts with a full toss that's smashed away through mid-wicket. Oh, that was horrible. That was horrible. Borthwick, even early in his innings, had no problem in taking advantage of dispatching it to the mid-wicket ropes.
And his eyes lit up there.
So, sorry, that one slipped. Borthwick to 13, Durham to 90 for 2 in the Riverside sunshine. And Salter bowls. That one's flighted, but does manage to land it this time, and it's played gently on the onside.
He's angled that right in towards the foot, hasn't he, there on the leg side?
So floating it up, just trying to tempt him into something injudicious. That's a better delivery, and noodled gently on the leg side by Borthwick. No run. Carlson fields. Salter looking to get quickly into his rhythm, though this will be his only over before lunch. As next delivery is again defended gently on the leg side, and there's no run. So Salter improving rapidly after that. Pretty awful first ball. Here's Salter in again, bowls, and again carbon copy. Borthwick forward defending. Last ball of the Salter over, so they will get one more in, I think. 12:58 according to my timepiece. Clock on the scoreboard's got a couple of minutes to go as well. Salter bowls, and Borthwick again repeat, plays defensively on the leg side. So 90 for 2, Borthwick has 13, Peterson has 28. I'll be back on commentary duty after lunch, and Martin will describe the final over of the morning session.
29 overs gone then, so they're going to try and squeeze one more in. There's a discussion going on between Borthwick and Peterson, and we will have Lloyd bowling this final over. (90-4-2). Lloyd to Peterson on 28. Thick edge, driven down towards third man. There's a man down there now. 1 run. The midday news programme has just begun on Radio Newcastle, so my update on there will be about 1:15. And from a Durham point of view, they'll be wanting to make sure they are still in the pavilion, only 2 down at the point in time. Sun shining brightly now. Lloyd round the wicket to Borthwick from the Finkel end. Borthwick turns it late off the legs out towards the square leg boundary on the pavilion side of the ground for 1. In comes the ball again. Outside the line of the off stump and left alone. Fourth ball of this over, defended by Peterson, runs to short mid-wicket, no run. Lloyd to his mark. Two slips in place. Peterson waits as the bowler comes in. He dabs the bat down on top of that one and steers it out through the covers. He should get 2. Is he going to come back 3 for the throw? No, just 2. 1 ball left to go. He moves on to 31. Durham 94 for 2. Will Young, who had a brief spell with Durham at the beginning last season, has got a half century today. As this is pulled by Peterson up towards Van der Houten at mid-on, and that is the end of the over. For Northants, 118 for North against Warwickshire at Edgbaston. Will Young getting his half century, 92 balls. So here in Durham then, in Chesley Street, 30 overs gone. Durham are 94 for 2. Peterson has 31. And Borthwick has 14. Other than an update in a few minutes' time, we'll be back with you at 20 to 2.
We've always been good at designing niche products for consumers, so thinking was if we can use the same design skills on products which got more volume, we'll be more successful. The big issue was the plan to do it. We set a figure of capacity to make 250,000 pieces a year. It's an ambitious target, but it's our figure. So we then worked with the machinery designers to make the washing machines. Number one in this product, it's got to be reliable. A washing machine has a lot of hard work to do. It's a very important part of most households, so reliability was an issue. I think any new product, we've got to learn about it, and that's important. We've got to learn about it so we understand it inside out. And that's taken longer than we expected, but we've taken our time to make sure that it's right. There's a big appetite for buying British products, and rightly so. But we can't rely on that. We've got to make a product that competes with all the imports. And of course, remember, we've got our core business here of making domestic dehumidifiers and bottled water coolers and industrial dehumidifiers. So that takes our time, and we don't want to get this wrong. We've done 120,000 hours of testing washing machines here to make sure that it's absolutely reliable and does the job.
Yes, it's lunch here on day one. Glamorgan put Durham in. It's quite a green-looking wicket. I think they thought it might do a bit more than it really has. They did get an early breakthrough, though, when Sean Dixon was caught slips for just 5 off the bowling of Michael Nisa by Sam Northeast, ending a fantastic run which had seen Dixon score centuries in 3 consecutive innings. Alex Lees was then the only other wicket to go this morning. He was on 44 when the Glamorgan skipper David Lloyd brought himself onto bowl. And the second delivery, Lees looked to cut it through the offside, got a thick inside edge, and it took his leg stump out ground, so he was rather annoyed with himself. But that end partnership of 62 between him and Keane Peterson. Peterson will resume after lunch on 31, Scott Borthwick, the skipper, on 40, Durham a 94 for 2, and those two have 17 on the board so far. And despite the green tinge in the wicket, it does look like a decent batting track once again. Welcome back to Chesley Street for the afternoon session here on day one of Durham against Glamorgan. Glamorgan put Durham in this morning and they saw off Sean Dixon for 5, and then Alex Lee's chopping onto his stumps just before the break on 44. Resuming on strike now, Scott Borthwick the skipper on 14, Keegan Peterson at the other end on 31, and coming around the wicket from the Lumley end of the ground is Mr. Gorvin, and this is really Nick's end of the ground, I think. I started off there, but we switched around halfway through the morning. So, do you want this end, or do you want...
I've no preference whatsoever, but you've started the over, so you might as well finish it.
Just been catching up with one or two people outside at lunch as Borthwick comes forward and defends this one on an off stump. And, Paul and Alison, who've come up from North Allerton, just saying it's nice to be in a cricket ground again. I don't think they saw any action last year. It wasn't until July before anyone was allowed in the grounds anyway last year. So, right, the stream. They've tried to reset the stream. We'll see how it goes this afternoon as Gorvin bowls to Borthwick. That's pushed off to point. As ever, of course, the quality of the commentary knows no rival on the BBC website and the sports app. In beautiful crystal Dolby surround sound.
Yep, if you're watching and listening on the county stream and we don't sound quite right, then it's naught to do with us.
Yeah, it's not the sound isn't too bad on it as Gorvin comes in again, pulled by Borthwick off towards long leg, down towards the County Durham stand on our right for 2. It's buffered a little bit, that's what happens. So
they're trying to delete things off a laptop somewhere, I overheard at lunchtime, to try and make it work better.
Yeah, I think the laptop probably needs a bit of a quick scan or something. It's chilly out there, breezy, and very much cold weather. quite a stiff westerly breeze today as bowler comes round the wicket. Borthwick plays that out towards deep mid-wicket 4-1. Billy Root will field. Out towards the Castle side of the ground. Another product of Sheffield Collegiate Cricket Club along with his brother.
Oh, he's got a brother, has he?
Yeah, I don't know if his brother's into cricket or anything though.
No, well, you wouldn't want to rival Billy, would you?
No. There's only enough room for one cricketer in a family, surely.
Absolutely.
Keeper standing up to the stumps now for Peterson. This bowler comes in right arm over and bowls. Defended.
And North East was standing quite wide there at second slip. He was more like 2.5 come third slip. So it tells you they're not expecting the ball to come on terribly quickly, and Gorvin will have to rely on line and length and a nagging accuracy if he can. 7 overs, 0 for 20. David Lloyd taking a wicket at similar pace when Lee's chopped the ball onto his stumps before lunch, and we're going to see another spell from Michael Hogan now from our commentary box end. The sports centre behind us. So yeah, quite cloudy still, probably 85% cloud cover, just a couple of little patches of blue above us at the moment, and you'd have thought it might help the bowlers, but there doesn't appear to be much swing at the moment, or indeed much sea movement, or much of anything. 97 for 2. Hogan set off away from us and bowls to Borthwick, who drives to Carlson at mid-on and stares at his bat as if to say, what have I done? Borthwick has gone, and the second over after lunch has gone for 17, and Durham at 97 for 3. Caught Carlson, bowled Hogan, and Morgan have a bowling point.
Don't know what he did there. Just was it a false shot? Do you think he just played
completely mistimed it, didn't he?
Totally straight into the hands of the fielder.
That was one of the easier out catches you're going to get. And Carlson had no trouble in clinging on to it. Just about discipline and nagging away today, I guess.
Well, I tell you what, the 3 dismissals to go today have all been self-destructive, really, haven't they? I suppose with Dixon it was a feather, but he went after one, leaving him outside the off stump. Lee's dragged on from outside his off stump, and then Borthwick's just done that.
Well, Glamorgan will be delighted to have 3 down at this relatively early stage. 32nd over of the innings, even given the decision to bowl first, because they've really had no help at all off the deck, and it's just a question of bowling as tightly as you can and hoping the batsmen make mistakes to some extent. Even a bowler as formidable as Nisa may induce the edge off Dixon early on, but he's found little life in it. As David Bellingham arrives at the crease in a pretty good nick from the Worcester game with a century there. Had 76 in the game against Glamorgan in Cardiff earlier in the season.
Nobody noticed Beddingham's 100 at Worcester.
Oh, he's got 100 as well, has he?
Yeah. Stokes was doing daft things at the other end at the time.
Here's Hogan into Beddingham, and he is watchfully forward, and there's no run. So Hogan 1 for 23. That is his 14th wicket of the season. Came into the match with a bowling average of 31.8, which is probably slightly higher than he would have liked, but an economy rate of 2.6, which is around about the mark for Hogan, who's in there to bowl to Beddingham, who drives to Carlson at mid-on, and there's no run. So Ben Stokes is due in next for Durham. Will he be as explosive as he was last week?
Well, when he came in last week, it was day 2. It was morning, 11:10. Borthwick had just gone out.
As Hogan is in to bowl to Beddingham, who's forward defending, no run.
And Durham were in a position where they were looking at the final batting point, and could they get there? And he sped things along, basically.
Did he go from the start, or
Yeah.
launched it, did he? Right from the start. Well, almost bound to have with an innings of 88 balls, but you never know. As Hogan into Beddingham, and there's an appeal, and not given. Now that one ended up in the hands of Slip. Have a look at the replay to see whether they were appealing for the catch or LBW, or possibly either. As Hogan turned away disappointed, slightly quizzical. There was an initial shout of excitement. The ball looped up, it was caught at Slip, and it's a dot ball. So I'm not sure whether that was one of those double appeals. Caught LBW, what you got, umpire? As next ball is played on the offside to Labuschagne, who'll have a throw at the stumps. Do we need to say that? Betting forcing it off the back foot, but it's a dot ball. 97 for 3 at the end of a successful Hogan over. He has 1 for 23 in 7 now. And that was the maiden.
Wicket maiden. Nicholas Brill has tweeted, he said, "You mentioned about the hill to Lincoln Cathedral earlier. Well, my wife and I did it, and you're right, it is rather steep. I've sent some photos in of it. Meanwhile, in Chesley Street, he says, the pitch doesn't seem to be playing too badly, even though it looked green. Fingers crossed for a positive result. For Glamorgan," he says. Well, the second image of this hill at Lincoln, it gets very narrow. And the bowler is about to come in again here now, Gorvin. Right arm over, he bowls, and Peterson pulls it out through mid-wicket. And way beyond mid-on, ball running up towards the health club boundary, he'll get 2.
Crowd are getting behind everything, aren't they? They're applauding 2s quite enthusiastically.
Andy Gorvin, the bowler. Yeah, last weekend the Lincoln Grand Prix cycle race was on at on that hill. That's where the finish line is. They've had the British Road Race Championship before as well, and it's a really tough course. Andy Gorvin bowls again to Peterson around that time.
We've seen this one from Useless Durham Stats on Twitter.
No.
The 4th time in his first-class career that Alex Lees has got out to a bowler called David. Twice to David Payne, once apiece to David Visa, and now David Lloyd. Only Chris's and Ben's have got out on more occasions.
In comes the bowler, defended by Peterson. Well, this is the sort of track where you could expect a big partnership, and if you're going to get one, then it's these two, you'd think. 99 for 3.
Ben Bonney, interesting to see Root batting at 7 after century opening for the Saxons.
In comes the bowler, and that's gone down the leg side, taken by the keeper standing up. This, I've just looked at Billy Root in the Playfair. He's related to a lad called Jay Root.
All right.
So, who also played for Sheffield Collegiate. So there's a link there.
Bit of cricket in the family then.
Yeah. I'll tell you who has links to Sheffield Collegiate and used to be the scorer. Do you know?
Yes, certain national newspaper journalist.
Yes. In comes Corvin. Peterson defends. Ball rolls up towards mid-off. Yeah, Lizzie Ammon, who was part of the BBC commentary team a few years back, and now writes for the Times. I think her mum had links to the club as well. Gorvin in again, balls driven out into the covers, dot ball. That is the end of the over, 99 for 3.
Yeah, looking back at the Borthwick dismissal, the feet were all over the place. He was looking to drive and sort of fell over himself and ended up mistiming it horribly. Just chipping it up to mid-on. 99 for 3 then, as Hogan looks to repeat that success. Clouds get slightly darker. Unlike Cardiff, thankfully, we do have use of floodlights available here. So Hogan loping in his second spell, and that's hard, just driven down the ground exactly towards us. I think it's going to slow up just before the ropes. It looked to be timed better than that, but Bedingham will come back comfortably for a third run as Kieran Carlson picked it up just in front of us, and that is the Durham 100 up off the first ball of the 34th over. So the second 50 slightly quicker than the first, just under 14 overs I think, but for the loss of a couple of wickets as well. So swings and roundabouts. Glamorgan have registered the first bonus point of the game, but there looks as though there should be a reasonable number of batting points on offer as Hogan bowls, and bit of bats, bit of pad as Peterson looks forward. He's on 33 off 60. Doesn't look absolutely at ease in the same way as Lees was earlier in the day before he chopped ball from David Lloyd from about fifth stump onto his leg stump, outside off stump in other words. Here is Hogan, 2 slips, 4 saving the single, and that's outside off stump, and Peterson shoulders arms and allows it to go through. Still quite a bit of breeze around. Flags on the pavilion blowing out, including the Glamorgan daffodil. The cross for St George, and I presume there's a Durham flag closer to us.
Building feel like it just shake there.
I didn't notice it. As Hogan's in, and Peterson blocks that one to mid-off, and there's no run. But I'm well weighted down after my lunch. Minor geological tremors in the Chestler Street area.
I'm not aware there was a colliery here, but you never know. There's mine shafts all over this region.
It's a bit of a breeze, but I don't think it's blowing the commentary box building around. There's Hogan bowls, and that's punched to Labuschagne at cover by Peterson. Doesn't feel cleanly, but stops it. And there's no run.
Paul has messaged me. He says Lizzie Ammon's dad was a cricketer, and he said her mum worked with me. She sadly died early of cancer, but she was a lovely, intelligent lady of fine principles. I think she was Lizzie's mum was an MBE. Paul's an MBE as well. So
Hogan bowls, and there's their cut behind. They're going up for the catch. Peterson, though, is unmoved, and more importantly, so is umpire Middlebrook.
As soon as he appealed there, I was expecting the finger to go up, but can't really tell looking back on the screen.
Yeah, looked from the Hogan appeal as though he thought it was out, if you see what I mean. Been watching Hogan appeal for 10 years, so you can usually tell there's not a great deal of histrionics either way. But he thought he had a decent chance of getting the finger upraised up. Ben Bunny on Twitter says he gets that Billy Root is normally an opener, but Andrew Salter is number 7 bat and Root should be higher up. Yeah, Salter performing the opening duties.
Gorvin in to Bedingham, who's on 3. This was played up to mid-on. There's a cricket announcement coming at what time? 2 o'clock, is it?
2 o'clock, indeed.
Yeah. Can't imagine what it might be.
Which may concern the England national setup. Brackets men's. Close brackets.
This is defended by Bedingham from Gorvin on off stump.
Anyway, 13:58. 2 minutes away from said announcement.
Gorvin turns. He's only ringing from about 15 yards at the Lumley end. Bowls to Bedingham. Cuts a backward point. Stopped by Root. No run there. Just seeing a message here that Julien Alaphilippe, the World Road Race Cycling Champion, has resumed training after a crash in Liège, Bastogne-Liège a couple of weeks ago. He's the rider who Richard Ray, Radio Leicester's cricket commentator, lives in Spain during the winter, and his wife bought him a World Champions cycling top. As this is bowled to Bellingham and played to mid-wicket. So Richard went out for a training ride one day up in the hills and walked into this cafe, and everybody started to laugh at him. And there, sitting in the corner, wearing the same top, was Julian Alaphilippe, world cycling champion. So.
Well, Richard's an athletic chap, but he's probably a couple of decades or several decades too old to be a cycling champion.
Gorvin to Bellingham, side edge onto the pad. They're finding it going a little bit tricky here, Durham, after lunch, aren't they? Is this ball just sticking in the pitch a little bit?
It does look like a timing issue, doesn't it? As though it's not coming on to the batters they're expecting.
Well. And the ball flick shot was an unusual one, wasn't it? And wonder about Lee's chopping on.
Yeah.
Ball not quite getting onto the bat as he imagined it would. 102 for 3, Durham. Gorvin bowls to bet. That one's in low and has played away out of the covers. It's 2 o'clock.
Do you want to make the announcement?
It's a 4. That's all I know, is it?
England men's test coach, or former Glamorgan player, Brendan McCullum, we call him.
Phil is the New England coach. So do you think he'll have met?
He was with Glamorgan in 2006.
He is 40. He'll be in place to start his role for next month's 3-match test series against New Zealand, which gets underway at Lord's on June the 2nd.
Morgan is in the bowl. Peterson pulls and will get runs down towards backward square because it's between two fielders. Billy Root is the one who actually does the fielding, but his throw is a little wide of Chris Cook. It's backed up by Salter, and they're through for 2. 104 for 3. Martin will be updating BBC Radio Newcastle very shortly.
So Brendan McCullum, the new coach. There's a new skipper in Ben Stokes, who will take charge of the team for the first time. 2nd of June, the first test against New Zealand at Lord's. They also play at Leeds as well. I can't remember where the other test is.
Hogan bowls and Peterson plays it into a gap on the leg side and goes through for a well-judged single because it was placed well wide of Kieran Carlson. And McCullum played for Glamorgan in the same season as one James Franklin, who you might know.
He's New Zealand as well.
I think they both hit 18-ball 50s, if I remember correctly, in the T20.
This is left alone outside the off stump. Tyrone Henderson held the record against Durham for a few years. 19-ball 50 in the semi-final at Southampton against Middlesex in about 2008. In the same game, Shivnarine Chandapal came out with Digicel stickers on his cheeks and batted the whole innings for about 40.
Not sure if that was Gray's advert then.
No.
Hogan is in to bowl to Bellingham, who drives into the offside, but it's smartly picked up by Labuschagne, making ground to his left, and there's no run.
Nottingham has the second test and then Headingley the third. I didn't think Headingley was meant to have test matches anymore, but I must have misread that somewhere.
Yes. They managed to somehow persuade the ECB. They should be able to. As that's played on the leg side by Bellingham. They'll go through for a single. Carlson with a sliding stop in a deepish mid-wicket position. 106 for 3. Yeah, apparently it hits your finances if you're not allowed to stage international cricket.
Does
so
it?
There we are.
I wonder if anybody's told Durham about that.
But there's no obvious links between Yorkshire and the ECB, so must be alright.
Can also hit your finances if you do host test matches and the ones that you can't sell because Yorkshire had the test the week before. All the opposition teams got rid of all of its star names and you don't know who anyone is in their starting 11.
Hogan is in to bowl to Peterson, who drives and will get a single again on the onside. Carlson having plenty of room to make to his right. 107 for 3. Peterson moving on to 37. Bellingham has 4. And Martin is about to address a radio audience in the reasonably imminent future.
Here we go. Yes, afternoon session on day one. Durham were 94 for 2 at lunch, having lost Sean Dixon for 5 and Alex Lees for 44 in the morning session. And then in the second over after the break, Scott Borthwick, the skipper, missed timing a delivery from Michael Hogan, and he played the ball straight into the hands of Kieran Carlson at mid-off. So he departed for 17. Durham 97 for 3 at the time. They are now 107 for 3. David Bedingham has 4. Keegan Peterson, the South African, has 37. The next man in will be the New England skipper Ben Stokes, and England have a new coach today as well, because New Zealand's Brendan Cullen has just been announced in the last 2 or 3 minutes as the new men's coach, and he has signed a 4-year deal. He'll be in charge for the first test against New Zealand, which starts at Lord's on June the 2nd. There was a 4 there, wasn't there?
Straight drive to long on by Peterson. Nelson, 111 for 3.
Gorvin comes in and bowls. Peterson plays it to mid-wicket. Oh, I've just missed it. Oh, it's busy near Asda at Whitley Road if you're out in the car. Just some travel news for you. There we go. Hear a siren, can't see it, but we can hear it. Going down the A167. Generally quite a grey looking day now as Gorvin comes in from the Lumley end. Cut by Peterson. Billy Root stops it, but it squirms through his legs. Gets it at the second attempt. Generally the forecast today was for a coolish day and lots of cloud drifting in from the west. No rain though. And it looks quite decent tomorrow, I think. Should be a decent day.
Yeah, Saturday's the warmest of the 4 according to the BBC forecast, which will be good for the thousands of kids piling through the doors.
Yeah, free children's places at the weekend as Gorvin comes in. This is defended. Gate 2 if you want to bring the kids and get them in free. It's gate 2 on Saturday. I would have brought my 2 oldest, I think, but they're going away for the weekend, so...
Well, hopefully it'll bring plenty of noise on the old effects microphone.
The shrill of children.
Yeah.
Gorvin in balls. It's gone off towards mid-on, no run. Peterson on strike.
Yeah, we've had a few school parties in at Sapphire Gardens doing guards of honour for the teams and that. And the morning session, it always starts off very noisy.
Yeah.
Whenever anyone hits the ball more than about 10 yards, they all cheer madly, and by lunchtime by 12 o'clock they've eaten all their sandwiches, and by lunchtime they're bored.
Yeah. Well, there were a few in this year, weren't there, when Durham were there, and then the hailstones came. Ball met on a bounce by Peterson, played back up to the bowler's end the over. You've seen nothing like the student night last year here, mind. Wow.
No.
That was unbelievable. Apparently somebody came streaking across the field right past me while I was interviewing one of the players at the end of the game. Never saw a thing. But some of the stories I heard from events that had happened that night, and then the next night there was the same company had a load of students down at Edgbaston, and quite a few invaded the pitch, and the ECB then stopped any further things like that happening. Apparently they're coming back this year, but Durham have promised the members they will be doing things differently.
They're going to man-mark them, are they? One steward to every student.
With a bit of VAR in case of the tackle from behind.
Oh, to mention the tackle. Here's Hogan into bowl to Bedingham, who's driving nicely on the offside, but straight to Labuschagne at cover, no run. So what they need to... They've got a coach and a captain for the men's test side. Presumably they think next about the white ball coach. Here is Hogan. Nice easy rhythmic run up, and there's a nice easy rhythmic defensive shot from Bedingham, who's in no hurry to get going. 4 off 17 balls so far, but it looks like the sort of pitches, as Martin said, the ball seems to have been sicking a little bit now and again, and it's absolutely correct thing to do to get the pace of the pitch before you try forcing too hard. Hogan bowls and Bedingham is forward in that same shot. Hogan flicks the ball towards the stumps and flicks it into the person of Keegan Peterson instead, fairly gently. Holds up her hand in apology and Peterson is absolutely unmoved anyway. 111 for 3. Durham, after being put into bat by David Lloyd, have lost Lees for 44, Dixon for 5, and Borthwick for 17, as Beddingham's defending another one on the offside. Again, no run.
Ooh, Lydia Jane, who's a big Durham fan, and she has a soft spot for New Zealand as well for some reason. She says, "My life is complete. Welcome, Baz McCullum."
High score of 160 for Glamorgan against Leicestershire. As Hogan is in and bowls a short pitch delivery that Beddingham thinks about hooking and eventually pulled out of the shot quite wisely. It went down leg side. It wasn't quite in the right place. The bat ball or the batsman not quite in the right place, or quite possibly both. Yeah, McCullum 13 matches for Glamorgan across the 3 formats, so it wasn't a whole season by any means. That one is defended by Beddingham to Carlson at mid-on, and there's no run. New Zealand double act, as I say, with James Franklin of this parish currently. Maiden from Hogan, he has won 31 off 10, and Durham remain on Nelson, 111 for 3.
Newcastle Falcons have just announced the signing Doncaster Knights Spanish international lock Josh Peters is joining on a 2-year deal. He's only 6'8", so, and weighs 117 kilograms. I don't know what that is in real money.
More than me, so it's quite a lot.
Coming up a level.
Not too many Spanish internationals in the English top flight.
No. Andy Gorvin, ball in hand, ready to come in to start his 11th over. None for 26 so far. 2 of them have been maidens. Bowling to Peterson. Peterson defends. Keeper standing up to the stumps to put pressure on him. You can probably see on the monitor just how green everything looks.
Yeah, do not suggest you're set. No. It really does look that green out there from this distance with the naked eye.
Corvin bounces up and down and jogs on the spot and then comes into bowl to Peterson. Played stand up to mid-on. Peterson's here for the first 7. Well, actually, no, he's here for 7 championship matches. He missed the first round because he was playing against Bangladesh. So he didn't play at Glamorgan. Ben Stokes, Bryden Cast didn't play in that one either. Neither did Labuschagne or Nisa for Glamorgan. Colin Ingram played, didn't he, and got some runs. Bowler comes in again. This is defended.
One of very few people in the county history to make 87 and 19 and then get dropped. Yes. He was philosophical about it all, and he was.
He's got more of a coaching role now as well.
Does a bit with the academy, and is awaiting his chance to star in the first team when Labuschagne departs.
In comes the bowler, played safely away back towards the stumps at the other end. Jamie Bowman, who writes for the group of Lancashire papers, has just tweeted, quite an achievement. Upland Cricket Club's player Sophie has recorded incredible bowling figures of 6 for none.
Blimey.
On her Lancashire ACA debut. That's canny glowing. Read all about it in the Wirral Globe. Turned away by Peterson for runs this time, off towards deep square leg for 1. Does Wirral sound like the sort of town, the sort of area that should have a globe?
Wirral Globe?
Wasn't the Globe was that
Toronto?
Superman's paper?
Or was that the Planet?
Or was it the Daily Planet, was it? There's a Boston Globe, isn't there?
I think there's a Toronto Globe.
Is there?
Maybe making that up.
Corvin in, turned it late, very late by Beddingham round corner down to fine leg for 1.
So, Glamorgan and Durham both making 2 changes for this game. Durham reinforcing their seam attack with Rain and the fit again Cars, playing his first championship game since last July because of a knee injury. Carted off to play ODI cricket in Cardiff at that particular juncture during his last match. Salisbury and Travaskis drop out, so Durham relying on Borthwick for their spin. And Glamorgan making 2 changes as well. With the seamers, or bowling all-rounders, James Wheel and James Harris dropping out. Wheel because of feeling unwell. In come Billy Root and fit again Tim van der Hoogten. Michael Hogan bowls and Beddingham drives off a thickish edge, stroke angled bat down to wide third man and takes a single 114 for 3.
Paul's back. He says his MBE was for national work in quality assuring careers education in England schools and colleges. Linda Ammon, Lizzie's mum, worked for the Department for Further Education. And there you are. Got an ology, got an MBE.
My blooming efforts. As that is played defensively on the leg side by Peterson. There's no run. Carlson with the fielding. Yeah. Matt Maynard's one of them. MBE, that is. 114 for 3 on a cloudy afternoon, a cool afternoon at Chester Street, but in front of a healthy crowd. As Peterson drives and has beaten Labuschagne at cover this time, and this it will roll away to the ropes on the pavilion side. Labuschagne might have just got a finger on it, but it was nicely timed. And Peterson moves on to 46 of 80 deliveries, total on to 118 for 3, Durham having been inserted. So Morgan labouring to justify that decision at the moment.
Never sounds right, that, does it, when you say it like that? If you've been asked about.
What, inserted?
Sounds like some kind of medical procedure.
Could be painful, I guess. As Hogan, the smallish figure of Peterson, who's back on his stumps defending, playing on the leg side this time. There's no run. We're talking about height disparities between Gorvin and umpire Wharf earlier. There's probably a bit of one between Beddingham and Peterson. There's Hogan, 1 for 36. Next, his name on the board is end ball to Peterson, who's defending back down the pitch, and Hogan fingertips it onto the stumps at the non-striker's end, but Beddingham is awake to that particular danger and had turned and put his bat back down.
I was wondering when I would see a tweet from Liam Dutton, the Channel 4 weather presenter this week, because yesterday on one of the front pages of the Nationals, the hottest summer ever is coming, ever being a word I hate. And it's the usual culprits who run this stuff regularly.
As Peterson edges that one down towards third man, but quite safely, and singles taken, 119 for 3.
I think it was the same newspaper stable who claimed we were going to have the barbecue summer a few years ago. Cue the wettest summer on record, I think it was, and pictures of Prince Philip nearly freezing to death in the royal pageant on the River Thames.
Is that along with Elvis Presley sighted on Mars, that sort of thing?
No, that's a serious newspaper, that one. The London bus is up there as well. But it's the same group. You'll see them regularly. 20 front page leads in a year about extreme weather in one of the papers. None of any of the stories ever came to fruition.
Well, it beats Princess Diana, I suppose.
Well, yes. So Liam says there isn't going to be a heat wave this weekend or into next week, yet poorly written hyperbolic clickbait stories continue to be pumped out by papers. Sure, it will turn warmer, but it won't always be sunny. There's also showers and thunderstorms at times. Gorvin bowling here too. Peterson played the short mid-wicket. It sounds to me, if it's going to get slightly warmer and there might be showers and thunderstorms at times, well, would you call that summer?
In Britain, anything passes as summer.
Bob Hunt, who used to commentate for Radio Bristol on Gloucestershire games, Gorvin bowls here, is played off by Peterson, down towards backward square leg for 1. He used to say that the school holidays should be earlier in the year, not in late July and August, because he always believed the best weather of the year had already gone by August. And you genuinely see a deterioration each year once you get sort of beyond July. But seasons are shifting around all over the place now, aren't they? I think there was some evidence in a report the other day, some scientists somewhere, I believe, this is flicked off towards a long leg for one by Beddingham. There's a report I read last week that scientists have been studying plant growth and tree growth over a period of time, and they're now springing into life 3 to 4 weeks earlier than they used to.
All right.
And you just look at the recent springs. The 2020 spring here was the driest on record, 169 years worth of records. We were in lockdown and industry stopped, and then the rain stopped as well. I think there's a link there as Corvin bowls to Peterson. This is played out through mid-wicket for 1. He moves on to 49 then from 86 deliveries. So he's looking for back-to-back 50s for Durham. And this year's spring's been quite dry. Last year's was one of the sunniest on record, but it was cold. Didn't really get any warmth in the... Well, the weather just broke mid-May. It just got wet and horrible for a few weeks, didn't it? So we had all those dry, clear, sunny weeks, but it was cool. Beddingham forward to this one from Corvin. Plays it up to mid on no run there.
It's very much quiet accumulation for Durham at the moment, isn't it? What you need is an England captain coming in next Prentice 6 hitting. Liven things up a bit.
A quiet accumulation of snow. Is that what you're forecasting snow next week now? Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Plagues of locusts. Downpours of frogs.
Beddingham plays up to mid on again. Bit of a grunt you could hear from the bowler there as he delivered that one. End of the over. It's a dot ball. So Keegan Peterson has 1700s to his name and 34 50s. And that is from 113 first-class games. So he's actually, in this innings, he's gone past 7,000 runs today as well. And Scott Borthwick started the day needing... He didn't get them, but he needed 31 runs for 10,000 in first-class cricket, so he was out on 17, so...
Oh, now that is a decent milestone. Yeah. 10,000. So, bowling change. A third blast of Michael Neser. Oh, he's going to enjoy putting his feet up on Monday. 5 back-to-back games. Don't get that too often in the Sheffield Shield. Michael Neser, the Queenslander, is to go into his third spell. 2 from the...
You won't get it here much longer, right? By the sounds of things.
Here is Michael Neser then. 1 for 9. Into bowl, and Peterson's forward, and Neser half stops with his boot. The ball sails past the stumps and is tidied up by Carlson. In terms of the weather here, the BBC reckons in the next 10 days or so...
you can't tell more than about 3 days in advance.
There's a minimum, a lowest maximum of 14 and a high of 20, so it's not going to be a heat wave.
20's blend.
There's Neser to Peterson, who's forward, defending. Ball rolling ever so gently down to Van Dochten at mid-off. In fact, it doesn't get there. And Marnus Labuschagne, just because he can, wanders over from cover and picks up.
Katie's tweeted, she says, the school summer holidays weren't designed to cover the best weather. They were the weeks when the kids were needed in the fields to help the harvest. Yes, I know that. But interestingly, Katie, Scotland's holidays are 2 or 3 weeks ahead of ours. Yet they're further north, so do their fields miraculously grow quicker?
Neser bowls and Peterson drives nicely through the offside. It's between cover and point. I think this one's going to reach the boundary. No, it's just tapped back by Salter to Labuschagne, and that is Peterson's half century. It's come up off 89 balls, and it's included